Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Oh, what's up, everybody? A pleasant good evening to you all. Welcome, dissidents, to the DueDissidence podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss, here once again with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
Want to thank you all for joining here, 196 strong in the chat. Plus, we got a couple dozen of you guys over there on Rumble. We see you over there on Rumble. We love you on Rumble. I want to start by just congratulating our friends over at RBN for a very successful Rumble launch this week. They got slammed by the censor bots about a week and a half ago, and so I believe their strike expires today, and they're back up and running on YouTube either today or tomorrow. I would imagine maybe they'll do a stream then or something like that. But they had a really great Rumble launch. It's very heartening to know that their audience followed them there when this platform went dark for them, and so it's very important that we all stay in touch with each other. This is why we say many times per show, subscribing to this channel here is not enough. Please find a way to follow us on some alternate platform, be it Twitter or Substack. Substack is really the best since that's just an email list, right? There's no Elon bullshit. There's no Google bullshit. There's none of that. It's just an email list. You stay in touch with us. It's very, very important because once you get penalized like that, you don't get a chance to like reach out to your followers and say, hey, we're done here for a week or whatever, follow us here. No, you're not allowed to communicate via this platform at all. So it's very important to stay in touch with your favorite content creators on a multitude of platforms. Very, very important. So we hope that you will all do that, but we want to congratulate them on a very successful Rumble launch. It was a great show that they put on the first show back. I haven't gotten a chance to see the second one they did, but good job to those guys. We got a pretty good crowd in here tonight. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Like I said, follow us on Twitter, Substack, Patreon, all that good stuff. We're putting together our second Patreon and Substack exclusive member live stream. We'll have a date announced on that very, very shortly. But that'll be a lot of fun. So those are all some bits of housekeeping that we wanted to get out of the way. It is June 1st, and it is hot. 93 up here in the capital region.
Oh, wow. Is it that hot up there?
Yeah, it wasn't that hot down there?
I mean, it's hot, but I don't think it hit that.
Yeah, no, we were boiling up here today. It was a hot day. Summer is underway.
It was like in the 80s.
All right.
The high was 85.
All right. Interesting. It's rare that it's hotter up here than it is down there because we are significantly far north. I mean, we're pretty far north. We're about 150 miles north of New York City. So we are up here. But we have a lot to cover this evening. We have a lot to get to. We have our marquee segments that we put in the thumbnail, but we have a lot more than that. This is, as Russell likes to call, a t-shirt gun of content this evening. Got a lot of different stuff to get to. So should we jump right in, Russell? Is there anything that I'm missing before we start? Any coffee to try this evening or no coffee tonight?
No. Tonight I did make iced coffee this time.
I got ice water. I've been running out of water recently, and I'm afraid that if I bring the pitcher in here to refill it and my wife needs some, that she'll interrupt the show and yell at me, and I'll look like a big pussy. in front of everybody. And so that's why I don't bring the pitcher of water in here.
That would be that's why I'm not married.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you can have beverage of choice. But it is warm out here, so I am trying to stay hydrated. But thank you guys all for tuning in. Tonight, we're going to get started with some celebrity politics news. This went pretty viral, this clip. Who knew when we started this show we'd be talking much about James Van Der Beek? But we got to talk a little bit about James Van Der Beek because he is very upset that there's not going to be any DNC debates this year. He's very offended that the DNC is foisting Joe Biden amongst the Democratic base, which I suppose includes James Van Der Beek himself. So here he is ranting on Instagram about how the Democrats have abandoned democracy. Let's hear from the man himself.
Cannot get over the fact that the Democratic National Committee is saying there will not be a debate to decide the nominee for president. Are you kidding me? There's no debate. There's no debate over an 80-year-old man.
I don't want to wait
if he lives will be
for our
the
lives
sitting
to be
president in the history of the country. And if he doesn't live, has a vice president whose approval rating is worse than his. This guy is obviously declining mental faculties. You're putting him up in front of a podium with flashcards telling him who to call on and what the questions are going to be.
He's really going at him hard. The thing that jumped out at me when I saw this video is the backdrop, the setting. You know, he's obviously past his prime as an actor. He doesn't have to worry about, landing any big roles anytime soon. I guess that Dawson's Creek residual money is still keeping him very comfy. And so he's out in the country with his family. God bless him. But this is not how you talk.
He's putting together his ranch of like-minded white Christians.
Exactly. Cameron.
Preparing for the apocalypse.
Exactly. This is not how you talk when you need to remain on the Hollywood A-list. You know, this is not the kind of stuff you say into a camera when you need to get cast in something big next year. Let's listen to him keep going.
There's no debate. What about the will of the people? And let's just not even the will of the people. What about the will of the people who voted for the guy last time? Because
what about the will
people,
of
72% think there ought to be a debate. The people who voted for Biden last election, 72% want a debate.
What about the will of Hollywood celebrities? Since when did we not have a voice in the Democratic Party? What's going on here? Obviously, this guy was not a Bernie bro because this is he wouldn't have been too shocked by any of this if he were. But he's saying all the right things. Credit where credit's due. I always took this guy for just good pair of tits and ass, but apparently he's got a few brain cells.
He's more than that. He's not just a himbo.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. He's got a little bit going on upstairs.
So the DNC is openly ignoring, bypassing the will of the people. Why? But this was a democracy of the people, by the people, for the people. If we don't have a debate, this is not a democracy by the people. It's a democracy by them. For who? Big banks, big business, big tech, big pharma, big government, big whatever. I mean, what the hell? How is this a democracy? And how is anybody in the DNC right
They recorded this on Memorial Day, so here we go.
Going to post about thanking our troops and thanking the families who have made the ultimate
somebody
sacrifice
dose this
to
guy's
preserve our democracy
macrobiotics.
and our way of freedom. And listen, I am grateful for them. But any member of the DNC who's going to think about posting that today, stop, think, and do your f***ing job before you start posting about how grateful you are. There are people out there who are willing to die to preserve democracy, because you are not preserving democracy right now.
There you go. He says it. There you have it.
Before, and I've said it again. Stay away from the brown acid.
Yeah. Yeah. James Van Der Beek. Now, that went all over Fox News. They were playing that, pretty much on a loop for the past day or two, especially, going back to the end of the Memorial Day weekend. He obviously put that out on Memorial Day. So the past couple of days, that's been getting a lot of airtime. And, a lot of the libs predictably have, found a way to kind of smear him as a sort of other kind of person. They said his wife has questions about certain injections, shall we say, that she's not supposed to have. And, they sort of come out with all that stuff to throw at him when he bucks the party line. But you saw on Fox News also, there was a clip of a woman. I couldn't find this online, but I did happen to come across it somewhere where she was talking about a Democratic analyst just saying, well, no, I'm totally comfortable with the fact that there are not going to be any primary debates of any kind. Marianne Williamson's at 8%, RFK's at 20%, and we're totally comfortable with our candidate, Joe Biden, sitting pretty at 60 to 70 points, and they feel confident that he can hold that. And so no amount of shaming is going to change them. But I have to say, as much as I still maintain that the primary is unwinnable for anybody who's not Joe Biden, it is startling to see as many mainstream figures call for a sort of open process. And a lot of that has to do with some footage we're going to show a little bit later in the show about the state of Joe Biden, because as many of you know, he had a bit of a whoopsie this afternoon. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. But what do you think, Russell? It's not every day that you see big Hollywood actors come out and sound more or less like us. I mean, that's usually very off-brand for people like this.
As you point out, it seems like he's done. He's not running around auditioning to be the dad in the new Dawson's Creek reboot. It really looks like this guy has settled into a good old American prepper lifestyle. He's probably got a bunker there. He's just getting ready for the end. So he doesn't care. He can speak his mind at this point. It's not like somebody with a really active career coming out and saying something like this.
Right.
If Dwayne Johnson said this, that would the world would end in Hollywood. They wouldn't even know what to do with that. Who is this guy? So it's easy to take a stand when you really don't have anything to lose. Also, there's never been a Biden Democrat under 75. I've said that before. I've never met anyone who was enthusiastic about Joe Biden who wasn't about Joe Biden's age. And I think for them, it's just they're living vicariously through him. See, he can be the president. I can order off of the menu. But there's no base for him. Look, if Hillary had been elected, there would have been fanatical, foaming at the mouth Hillary people for her reelection. Who are those people for Joe Biden? So as his presidency and as the state of him becomes increasingly farcical, as this becomes increasingly weekend at Biden's, propping this guy up to run again. Yeah, I mean, the cracks are starting to show because he has no base, and his running again is really like a farce that might have been made before it happened. What if they ran a guy who was so old that he just kept falling over and saying crazy things, but they had to run him because they felt like everyone else was going to lose, so they had no choice? Go make that move, right? I mean, really, it's like a parody that might have been made by the Farrelly brothers before it actually happened.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the footage from this afternoon, it absolutely plays like that. But let's move on. This is a related.
What about we've picked a candidate, haven't we?
Oh yeah, well yeah. Russell has his new campaign material here. Chutlu 2024, the greater of two evils. There you go. You have to get that slogan in there.
That's my new campaign shirt.
Yes, that's his new campaign shirt. Bulla was a little slow making merch, so we're using that until the Bulla merch comes in. But be on the lookout.
Vote extra dimensional demon.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. There's a little update from the Extra Bulla campaign coming this Sunday, I heard. That's buzz. That's word on the street. Is that this Sunday we're going to hear a big announcement from the Extra Bulla campaign. You're going to have to tune in here at 7 o'clock Sunday night. We have the exclusive on that, as we always do. But there was another piece.
I heard Cthulhu might damn him to a hell dimension.
We'll have to see. That's
always the danger when you run against Lovecraftian madness.
Yeah, exactly. The rumors are circulating. The rumors are out there. All right, folks, a little more 2024 buzz starting to generate here. As, you know, Joe Biden is looking older and frailer by the day. His poll numbers seem worse and worse by the day. There are some Democrats who are starting to raise concern that he's not the most viable of candidates. And of course, most of these libtypes don't actually have the brains or the balls to come out and criticize him the way he deserves to be criticized, which is more on the substantive point. So a lot of them are saying, look, he's getting a little too old. And the head shitlib in charge here on Twitter, Mr. Rob Reiner, wasn't having any of that. And so he comes out here. I'm sick and tired of hearing Democrats whining about Joe Biden's age. The man knows how to govern. Just shut up and vote to save democracy. Just shut up and vote to save democracy. Just think of the irony of that
The levels
statement.
of stupidity in that sentence are so dense, it might cause the universe to collapse if one were to contemplate it too deeply.
Yeah, I mean, how you can type that and lack the self-awareness to not recognize the irony of what you're typing. Just shut up and vote to save democracy from Mr. Rob Reiner. Now, even, more shocking than this were some of the responses to this tweet. There were several. We could do a whole show on that, but I just couldn't help but highlight this response here because there were a lot of people who were pushing back on him, and then there were a lot of people cheerleading him. This guy here found a sort of nuanced middle ground and admitted, hey, he is looking kind of old. So here's this guy's plan. Again, this is the level of intellect you're dealing with when you're talking about Democratic voters, and this is why Democratic primaries, I always insist time after time, are so helpless. Here's Robert Bess, an unknown, but he has the blue check, so he pays Elon, which is interesting. That's a little hypocritical. But he says, a better VP candidate, though, is needed. So he wants Biden. But here's his idea. Kamala would be a great replacement for Thomas on the Supreme Court. Could you imagine Kamala Harris sitting on the Supreme Court? Move the transportation secretary to VP. So put Buttigieg in the VP spot. He might be a tough sell to get enough votes. He is the smartest in my estimate. So this guy wants to move Pete Buttigieg to VP and put Kamala on the Supreme Court to replace Clarence Thomas. How they would do that, I'm not sure. But that's pretty hilarious stuff. Could you imagine?
We want to move from Supreme Court decisions that make no sense on their substance to Supreme Court decisions that make no sense in their expression.
Imagine her writing a majority opinion, a majority ruling. The magnitude of this decision has weighed on me. At the time, this is an amazing opportunity that we have to weigh the pros and cons of this decision that has come before me. It's an opportunity I take extraordinarily seriously, as we should all take every opportunity seriously in the limited time that we have here on this planet to serve our democracy. You could just see the rest of the justices. Oh my God, What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
I just can't take 40 more years with this one. And she seems healthy, damn it.
And she seems healthy, unlike Joe Biden.
And that Buttigieg, who fucked up the job of transportation secretary so badly that people have actually noticed that we have a transportation secretary.
Right. Yeah.
I could not listen. I'm a politics junkie. I could not name one other transportation secretary in the entire history of the United States but Pete Buttigieg, because none of them ever made an issue out of themselves this way.
No, none made an issue out of themselves this way, although the libs got upset because I think Trump put Mitch McConnell's wife as transportation secretary, didn't he? Elaine Chao?
Was that the job
I think
that she had?
The job. She had some position. I think it was that.
I know she had a position. I don't remember what it was.
I might be wrong about that, but I don't think
it might have been. It might have been.
But anyway, Buttigieg and Kamala, liabilities, though they would certainly be wherever you put them, be it in the vice presidential slot for Pete Buttigieg or, in this guy's theory, Kamala Harris for Supreme Court justice. They are fairly young and fairly healthy, unlike Joe Biden. The irony is, the day after Rob Reiner puts out a tweet like that, we obviously have this footage, which has since gone pretty viral. If you have not seen this by now, you will see it for the first time. This is Joe Biden getting off the stage at, I believe, the Air Force graduation ceremony where he spoke this afternoon. Here we go. This is about 15 seconds. I'm sick of Democrats saying he's too old. I'm sick of it. I am so sick to death.
Really unfair. Everybody knows he is a big fan of the Naked Gun movies and Leslie Nielsen. That was a tribute.
I mean,
he was doing a pratfall. That's all.
You could tell the way he walks. I mean, he walks like a guy who's unsure of himself quite often, especially when he's trying to figure out where to go when he's done on stage somewhere. Yeah. He has that gait about him.
Yeah, steer me, please.
Exactly. So look at that. I mean, nothing.
I'm sorry. I should have laughed now. But Sarah, what I thought when I saw this was like, you know, man, I mean, the motherfucker could break a hip at his age.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that could happen in a heartbeat. And at that age, that's like a horse breaking its leg. It's almost always a death sentence.
Yeah, I forget the statistics, but you are correct. Like when a person above a certain age breaks their hip, they very rarely live. I forget the exact interval of time after that, but it's usually not too long. They're not too long for the world if they break a hip on a fall like that. And as you can see there were no steps, there was no ramp, there was none. He just lost his footing. And it seemed like he just kind of collapsed. It didn't seem like he even stumbled or anything. It's just like he was good. And then he just goes. Then he just falls. And so, you know, I mean, that's the kind of stuff. Like, I feel like post-Trump, there's just a lot more that politicians can sort of get away with, right? Like, it's hard to have a moment that disqualifies you because Trump had 1,000 moments that, like, technically would have disqualified anyone that came before him. But, you know, if Howard Dean can be disqualified because of a scream, or, you know, Al Gore can lose an election because he sighs during a debate or rolls his eyes or whatever, how could a guy who's turning 80 just collapsing like that for no reason, how could that not set off the alarm bells? This guy can't do it. Like, he can't run again and serve again. There has to be another option. Like, how is that a politically survivable event at this point? But I guess it is. And I guess what they're betting is that as horrible as this is and as horrible as this looks, they're hoping and betting they can make the Republicans look worse. That seems to be the play.
Yeah, it was a very different country that would have rightly disqualified Joe Biden. And I mentioned to you, I might want to do a segment on this. I know you haven't watched the show. Really, as far as I know. But yeah, I just binge watched the final season of Succession. And in a lot of ways, the intergenerational thing between the patriarch and the 3 children or the 4 children is, I mean, there are a lot of layers to that show, but it's partly, I think, a statement on the decline of the American character. Like, yeah, like the father was this horrible, mean old guy, but he knew how to run shit. And he says, that's the line that really stuck with me. He says to his kids at one point, he says, I love you, but you're not serious people. And that's what really strikes you with them, like with those characters. They're not serious people. And I think the writers did intend that as a metaphor for where we are at this point as a nation. They were just silly. Like the kids were portrayed as just silly. Like they think they're shrewd and they think they're sharp, but everything they say is just complete nonsense. That's where we are at this point. And you look at Kamala, you look at Pete, they're the kids in Succession, right? They're like this ridiculous, absurd next generation. It's like, look, guys like Nixon might have been evil, but they weren't fucking completely unqualified. They weren't unserious. They weren't unserious in this way. No serious nation would elect Joe Biden and Donald Trump for that matter. That is a nation that is no longer made up of serious people. Serious people are not led by people like that. That is not a nation that is qualified to lead the world anymore. Whatever you think about whether we should have been leading before, we were like Nixon, we were qualified. We were qualified to do it, maybe in a horrible way, just like the patriarch in Succession, but we were qualified. Now we're just silly, bloated, and rich for no good reason at all.
Right. No, absolutely. Let's go to some super chats, and then we'll move on here. Daryl, this came in this morning, 12:22 a.m. So last night this came in, just after I made the event.
Wow.
But he's putting in a good word for us, so thank you, Daryl. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Let's get these pinkos to 10K subs. Yeah, we are getting there. We are getting there, folks. We are at 9691 right now. Hit that subscribe button, please. Let's at least get to 9,700. That's not too difficult a goal for the end of this broadcast. We have 426 people in here right now. So if you hit that subscribe button, help us get to 9,700 by the end of the show. That would be amazing. Thank you very much. Meteor Dreams said, Happy Pride Month to Russell. We know how much he loves us.
All right, so now I'm going to throw Keaton a curveball here because I prepared a small exhibit because I saw this earlier. All right, so Meteor Dreams, yes, actually, I do love you. And
Meteor Dreams has come a long way, actually. I got to give credit to Meteor Dreams because he has stuck with us, or she. I don't know if you're a man or a woman or a they, them.
Or
I don't
other,
know.
whatever.
Yeah, but you have stuck with us a long way because I know you have strong disagreements with perhaps myself. Obviously, Russell is more passionate about that issue than I am, but we're more or less on the same page with most of what he says, I think.
All right.
But he has stuck with us through the Buck Angel interview and through everything, and I see you hanging around in all the chats, so thanks for hanging in there.
All right, so Meteor Dreams. So, yes, for one thing, all right, yeah, I mean, I do tend to take the lead on these issues, but when have me and Keaton ever disagreed on one of those segments? So I'm really not. So maybe there's a little ageism in the fact that you're hearing it from me, but you're not hearing it from Keaton. And as far as the underlying implication there, I want to show you, this video is up on YouTube. I want to show you a still from one of my productions, which I paid quite a bit of money to produce, about $50,000. You can see the title of it. There's quite a lot of imagery like that throughout this video. I collaborated with a drag queen for over 7 years. Okay, so no, I actually do love LGBTQ people. I just don't think that a biological man should be allowed to beat the shit out of a woman. Now, if that makes me anti-gay, well, then listen, I think as a member of the LGBTQ community, which I'm assuming you are, you should think about your standards for allyships, because if that's where the bar is for you to decide that somebody doesn't like members of your community, you're not going to be left with a lot of allies, because most people agree that biological men should not be in a ring with a woman. All right. If that's the measurement, then you're going to lose most of your allies.
All right. But thank you for the chat. And like I said, thank you sincerely for sticking with us. And look, I do have to say, I mean, well, you know what? I won't say it because we will get to it later. We have a little bit about that. You know what I'm talking about, Russell. Patrick Donahue, thanks for the €10. AOC triggered by parody account, Viglin triggered by science. If only they got outraged by people sleeping under bridges, for-profit healthcare screwing people, and kids going to bed hungry at night. Yeah, no, AOC was very, very bothered by that. Very, very bothered by a little parody account, which we are going to get to later on in the program. Tusker chipped in $5 so Keaton can buy his own special streaming pitcher. Well, thank you, Tusker. I could use that. That's actually a good thing to do. You know, when we really make it big, I'll put a little mini fridge in here, you know, so I can keep a little bar handy from all the beverages. All right. All right. Virtuoso, you all right there? You look like are you reading the chat?
I was.
You good? Oh, yeah. Okay. You look like you were a little distracted, but I know I've done that to you before. DNC.
A lot.
DNC giving James Vanderbeek the Varsity Blues. Yeah, good reference. I remember Varsity Blues. I never watched Dawson's Creek. My wife did when she was a teenager, and she recently binge watched it for fun during the lockdowns when neither of us had really anything else to do. So I absorbed a little bit of it through there. But I do remember Varsity Blues as a kid, young adult. Abiding 71. Thanks for the 99 cents. Appreciate that, my friend. Thank you very much. Eric Torres, you guys aren't wrong about prepping for the apocalypse. Potassium iodide. Am I right? What's potassium iodide? What is that?
I believe you take that for radiation poisoning.
Oh, is that right? It's good to know.
Yep.
Good to know.
I know that actually from a Russian post-apocalypse video game. Iodine was one of the things you wanted to stock up on in that game.
I did not know that. This is not a super chat, but it's a member chat, so it catches our eye. That's one of the benefits of becoming a member, is that some of your member chats catch our eye, even if they're not super chats, because they're highlighted. And I just feel like I should say this. Jessica, RFK Jr.'s wife, is an actress. I think, yes, RFK Jr.'s wife is Cheryl Hines, who played Cheryl David on Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David's wife. So she would actually be a great first lady. Yeah. I mean, she would be a great first lady. Very, very talented, funny woman.
It would be like the Curb Your Enthusiasm presidency.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Bum, 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 ba, da, 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 da.
Exactly. They play that at the inauguration. Yeah. The band playing it. Zach, look how close the primary got right there. Well, it may have got a little bit closer, my friend. That might be good news for you, because that was not a good look at that moment there. All right, we'll take a couple more super chats a little bit later, but let's go to our third headline of the evening. Okay, so this is an interesting headline, because this is what we would call a labor action of sorts, but as Russell observed, this is why he sent this to me, it's kind of a different type of labor action. Amazon workers walk out over lack of trust in leadership. Amazon employees worldwide walked off the job to highlight concerns about recent layoffs, a return to office mandate, and the retailer's environmental record. The walkout is being organized in part by Amazon Employees for Climate Justice, which has repeatedly pressed the company on its climate commitments, and they're walking out, as the headline says, to highlight a lack of trust in the company's leadership. CNBC is reporting approximately 2,000 employees worldwide walked off the job, with about 1,000 of those workers gathering outside the Spheres, the massive glass domes that anchor Amazon's Seattle HQ. Amazon is, of course, downplaying the numbers, saying 300 employees took part in the walkout. Sorry about that. So the two sort of main points of contention, according to these workers, which, by the way, these are the more sort of white-collar PMC Amazon workers, right? They're not the warehouse workers, They are upset about the sort of limited work from home capability that they're going to be able to take part in now. And they're also upset about Amazon's sort of elimination of the shipment zero sort of initiative, in which Amazon had previously committed to carbon neutral shipping by 2030. That would be half of all shipments would be carbon neutral by 2030. And now they are sort of upping the goal, but sort of doubling the time frame. Now they're saying they can get to carbon neutral entirely, but by 2040. So kicking the can down the road a little bit there. Those are the two main points of these workers, but these are the white-collar Amazon workers. These are the Amazon workers who sit in the air-conditioned offices and make fairly decent money off of the backs of those who are dying on the warehouse floors, and then taking forever to be found. So, I mean, on the one hand, I mean, look, I'm generally sympathetic to every labor action, but this is not exactly the revolution.
It was really interesting because they updated that, because I first read it before they actually did it, and then I read it after they did it. This is really an incredible example of the PMC's idea of a labor action. They are mad, and they're complaining about things that all workers should complain about. They're talking about, gosh, I was able to take care of my newborn. I was able to take care of my ailing relative. Okay, so did you express any solidarity when Chris Smalls was organizing the Amazon workers over far greater grievances than those? Yes, you're right. Those are Those are things that are terrible to have that taken away from you by work. What do you think happens with warehouse workers who are not paid a fraction of what you people get paid? Did you ever show solidarity with them? No. Not only did you not show solidarity with them, but I read through this entire statement. They didn't even mention the warehouse workers. And what was really interesting about that, they talk about climate change. They talk about, work from home and all of this. They never even mention them, but they do say, and climate and particularly impacts people of color and women and LGBTQ people. If you can find a better example of how all of that, the list, how that is pure virtue signaling, and there's absolutely no concern among these people for the people that they're listing, you couldn't find a better example than to make a statement about how you care about those people and say nothing about the people in these warehouses, most of whom are people of color. Nothing, not a word.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we will sort of, I don't want to say we'll follow that. It doesn't look like it was much of a strike. It looks like it was a protest. Looks like it was just an afternoon action. I don't know if there's going to be any more to follow on that story.
Well, also, they, Amazon just got rid of thousands of people. So this strikes me as being kind of like when all the Twitter people sent a letter to Elon, who openly stated that he wanted to get rid of 75% of them about what they'll tolerate. Are you out of your fucking mind? They're sitting there counting the beans, trying to figure out how many of you they can get rid of. The economy is contracting. There's sky-high inflation and interest rates. They don't want all of you people. So this is the moment that you're picking to make this kind of a statement. Like, they can't run Amazon without the warehouse workers. They simply can't. I'm betting they could get rid of at least 25% of you and without anybody noticing.
Yeah, that's probably true. Probably true. Russell, did you ban Tusker by accident?
It was an accident, yeah.
Did you mean to ban somebody else and you banned her? Or did you just...
No. I was looking at a comment and I hit it by accident.
And you hit it by accident.
I was gonna ask you how I undo it.
Did you figure out how to undo it?
No, I don't know. I was always worried that might happen eventually because this is really flaky.
Yeah, it's very easy to accidentally
ban.
She's
there.
No, she's there. She's back, but she asked what happened. What happened? Why is a red line next to your name?
So is she there?
She's there. She just posted at 8:45. Tusker,
Right,
are you there? We need a proof of life. We need a proof of life.
Yeah, no, it says that.
All right.
No, she's there. Everyone can see her, right?
Yeah, everyone can see Tusker's chats. We want to make sure we did not ban her by accident. That's what it means. No, but you're there. You're coming through. You're coming through. I just want to make sure. Hold on. Let me just take a second here. Bear with us, folks. I just want to see if I'm seeing that because it's logged in under DueDissidence. Oh no, it's there. Okay, it's there. I just logged in under my alternate. YouTube
so I didn't do anything.
All right. Yeah, it said you did. It said you did. And
so
I certainly don't want to do that, but maybe
no.
You're here, but traumatized. Oh, okay. Yeah, we gave you a good scare. All right. Thank you, Tusker. It's an accident. It's very difficult. Like when you go to highlight a comment, there's
exactly
3 dots right next to where you click to highlight it, and if you're off by half an inch, you can block someone by accident. So
I was gonna ask you because it said something, and I couldn't find an opening to mention it.
Yeah, well, that's how I was looking. I was like, oh boy, got a big problem here. If that's true. All right, let's move on then to another headline here. This one is a bit more serious. This one, for those of you who follow this. Kind of an infuriating story. Back in 2019, when we started this project as an audio podcast, this is before I even got involved with Russell. I interviewed a husband and wife who were activists in the Hudson Valley region of New York after having lost their son to an opioid overdose. And one of the first shows I ever did was about Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family here, but this just came out in the New York Times. The Sacklers can be shielded from opioid liability, appeals court rules. The decision gives the Purdue Pharma owners long-sought protection, but it is a major step toward releasing billions of dollars from their fortune to states and communities to help cope with the costs of addiction to OxyContin, which is, of course, the sort of flagship drug that they have profited billions of dollars off of over the last couple of decades, that has just wrought such incredible and such unspeakable havoc on the country here. The ruling gives the family, meaning the Sacklers, sweeping protection that it has been demanding for years in exchange for payment of up to $6 billion of the family's fortune to help address the ongoing ravages of the opioid crisis. So if this is the settlement that they wanted, what you have to understand, if you know anything about the Sacklers, if you have followed their case at all, that great show, Dope Sick, was all about the Sackler family and how they leaned on the FDA to get approval for the drugs, and how they continued to increase the dosages in the pills, knowing that this was getting people killed. This settlement does not shield them from criminal liability if a case is ever brought. And God, is that what we have to hope for at this point? Because the more you read about this stuff, the more infuriating it is that these guys can just rack up this unthinkable fortune off of basically selling a lethal poison that has just not only, created such a tragic and vast loss of life, but the economic ruin that it has wrought across so many swaths of the country is just incredible. And their ethos throughout all of it was keep selling. Sell, sell, sell. Never once did they consider putting the brakes on putting out first, I think it was, the 10 milligram pill, then the 20 milligram pill, then they would come out with a 75 milligram pill. They never slowed down. They never took a pause to evaluate the risks that they were actually putting people at. It was absolutely sociopathic what they have done. And this has to be considered, unfortunately, a victory for them that they won this settlement, because this does protect them, as the article says there, from many, many individual suits.
Yeah, well, the article also says that a lot of the plaintiffs decided to stop fighting because it was holding up the money, because there was an agreement in principle of how much money they would pay out if the suit were settled.
Right.
So, I mean, essentially, it's a settlement. But at the same time, it's just one more glaring example that, people at that level of the game, they don't go to jail, right? I mean, you're supposed to be shielded by being incorporated unless you can be proven to have acted with conscious, deliberate malfeasance that is not covered under the shielding corporate the corporate shield. This is why I keep saying I don't understand why the CEO of Boeing is not in jail. The guy who let that plane go up knowing that it was dangerous.
Right.
This guy killed hundreds of people. Same thing. I mean, the corporate liability shield is not meant to protect you from criminal activity in your capacity as a company officer, that you're specifically not shielded from that. So this decision really doesn't make any legal sense. But does the house arrest of Steve Donziger make any sense? Right. None of it makes any sense. At this point, it's a fucking banana republic. There is no rule of law anymore. And that's why people have completely lost faith in the system. That's actually why, look, I give a little love to my tanky brothers and sisters. Look, I understand why with the America we're living in today, some people might feel like, yeah, this wouldn't happen in China. It wouldn't. These people would be in jail. No question about it. It never would have gone that far. So, I get it. This is not This is it's all of a piece. This is not an America, the America of old, whether you agreed with it, didn't agree with it, thought it was horrible, thought it was great, whatever you thought of it, it wasn't a crumbling society. This is a crumbling society where criminals are just completely free from liability as long as they have enough money to buy their way out of trouble, as long as you have enough status. You'll never go to jail no matter what you do. Like literally, I can't say this enough. The CEO of Boeing knew the plane was not safe. And even after it crashed, kept sending it up with people in it.
Yep.
Didn't stop until the FAA forced them to. This man, I haven't even heard any discussion of prosecuting him. How can that be? How can that be? And then you expect people to respect the society, the culture, the system. You expect them not to loot your Target stores. You expect them not to riot. Why would they not? Why would they not? People don't do that because they feel an investment in society. We no longer have a society. We have a bunch of thieves with a lot of money telling everyone else how things are going to be. And as Chris Hedges always points this out, for the poor, the consequences of any illegal act are just absolutely brutal.
Right.
But for these people, there's nothing you could do that would send you to jail.
No, of course not. Of course not. Speaking of a decaying society, that actually segues very nicely into this next segment. Okay, so as we are live here, as we are recording this, I say that because we're going to clip this for YouTube tomorrow. The Senate is set to vote on the debt ceiling deal tonight, which is June 1st, that the House passed last night, and it is expected that the bill will pass quite easily. But there were some defectors in the House, some on the Democratic side, more on the Republican side. But here is an astounding piece of video. And if you notice, folks, we don't play much mainstream media clips anymore. It's just not something that we tend to be interested in much. It's kind of the same old thing. We don't even play much of like politicians speak on the show anymore. Like we don't really hear from politicians too much.
Well, it's also they haven't had a new Dancing with the Stars in a while, so we haven't had that to comment.
That's true.
on.
There wasn't that either, right? But this I just found to be a really astounding piece of video. So this is Khanna on MSNBC. When asked, are you a yes or a no? Because obviously the Republican Party had its Freedom Caucus members who were saying that they weren't going to vote for the debt ceiling deal because it wasn't far enough right for them. And then there was the expectation that a lot of progressives in the House would object to it because it wasn't far enough left for their taste. And so they asked Khanna if he was going to be voting yes or no, and you gotta see this answer. This is one of the most amazing answers I've ever seen a politician give to a question like this.
Let's get right to it. Are you a yes or no on this deal?
Peter, I'm a no, but I have full confidence that the deal will pass. Many House progressives have said if they need our vote, we'll be there. But we just can't, in good conscience, vote for a process that ran roughshod over the
I don't think he knows what conscience
and that's going to leave a lot of vulnerable people without food assistance and leave a lot of student loan holders without relief.
Okay, hold on. Let's just recap what we just heard there.
Right.
I'm a no, but I've told the president that if they need us to vote yes, we will be there. Meaning if Biden needs us to vote yes, if he doesn't have enough votes to pass it without our support, we will vote yes. But we can't in good conscience vote yes now because it screws over the hungry and the student debtors and the vulnerable. So I'm a no, but I'm a yes if he needs me. But in good conscience, I have to remain a no because it screws people over. What he's literally saying there is that he is voting no to virtue signal to his progressive base that he opposes the bill in principle. But he's saying on television that I am only voting no because my no vote is of no consequence. He is literally saying that if it actually meant something, if my vote actually mattered, I would betray my quote-unquote good conscience and vote yes. How could you admit that on television? How could you say that on TV? It's amazing. It's amazing. I've never seen that before. I've never seen a politician just do that as brazenly as he just did there.
Well, that's what happens when you don't have a legitimate press corps, right? Like if you knew there was a press corps that would rip you a new asshole for saying something so obviously ridiculous, you might not say it.
Right.
But who's going to say anything? This is how absurd our entire political system is at this point, that is not a nonsense thing to say. Well, yes, I'm against it, but if the president needs me to be, I'll be for it. And that's an intelligible statement.
Right. I mean, just incredible. Absolutely incredible. He goes on.
So let's break it down then. The budget director, Shalonda Young, said this is a compromise, a bipartisan effort, that not everyone's going to get everything that they want here. In your view, did the White House give too much away?
No, Peter, the president did the best he could under a hostage situation.
Okay, so now you're saying he did the best he could. So if you're saying, well, I would vote for it if I had to, and did the president give too much? Well, no, he did the best he could. Then why aren't you a yes? You're saying you're a yes. That's what you're saying here. You're saying you actually are a yes on the bill. You're only voting no as a symbolic gesture to maintain some sort of progressive bona fides with people who don't hear the whole sentence. Like anybody who hears what you're saying right now understands that you would throw them under the bus if you had to, right? And this is not to render any judgment as to whether or not you should vote yes or no, because look, honestly, I mean, yeah, this is a shit bill, but guess what? You lost the election. You're in the minority. You're not getting a good bill. Like there is no holding out for a good bill.
Well,
you lost.
And
losers eat
president,
shit.
And your president threw you under the bus because he wanted to.
Right. Yeah. And that's
in the end, Joe Biden has always wanted to cut social spending. He's always been this guy. And it doesn't help that the guy interviewing him looks like a bad pixelated anchor man from an Atari game from the 80s. I don't know where they dug this guy up. Like to have less character and personality, you'd have to be generated by ChatGPT. Like he doesn't even seem like a fucking human being. And that's exactly what I'm saying. That's why he has no fear of saying something like this. It's like the Lego movie that he's in right now. Like the guy he's talking to. He's like an anchor man in the Lego movie.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's just an amazing thing. Let's hear him keep going.
And he and his team deserve a lot of credit. It could have been a lot worse. They have a deal that's better, frankly, than the deal that was 10 years ago. But the point is that they've increased defense spending because of the Republican extremism while cutting aid to the most vulnerable, while having student loan recipients not get continued relief, while having the Mountain View fossil fuel pipeline made permanent. That's just not something that most of us can get behind.
Except it is something you could get behind if you had to. I mean, that's what you said. You said it's not something we could get behind in theory, but if push came to shove and Joe Biden needed our votes, if it was going to be close, then yeah, we would fall in line. Right? So like, what does any of that mean, given your admission that you would basically throw all of what you just said out the window and vote yes if it were close? Bernie Sanders came out yesterday and said, I, in good conscience, cannot vote for the bill. And I tweeted out, this is how I know it will pass. Because if he is allowed to vote no, that means it's going to pass. That means they don't need his vote.
Right.
So if Bernie's allowed to come out and vote no, that means they have the votes. His vote's not going to mean anything. This is a done deal. I knew it. And it looks like I'm going to be right.
Yeah, no, they've been playing that shell game for a very, very, very long time. You got a certain number of Democrats who are allowed to defect, or you have Democrats who have to be the no vote to make sure it doesn't pass. I mean, they just play this game with their voters, and then next election cycle, it was the Republicans. You have to vote harder. We need the Democratic majority. Hey, listen, jackasses, Obama had a fucking supermajority. They could have literally written a bill that said, not only are we giving universal health care to our people, we're giving universal health care to any intelligent life that may land on the planet. They could have done anything.
Including getting rid of this debt ceiling bullshit.
They could have done that. They could have codified Roe v. Wade. They could have codified, but then they wouldn't have been able to fundraise off of it. Okay, so this is, it's, you know, people who say not believing in this system is nihilism. I think believing in it is nihilism. That's the nihilism. We're trying to figure out a way forward. This is not a way forward. Listen to what he just said. I'm against it unless the president needs me to be for it. I have a dream. Unless I don't.
Yeah, right. Unless I don't have a dream. Right. Exactly. I mean, just absolute, utter nonsense. Now, with regard to this whole debt ceiling matter, I couldn't help but bring up this tweet. This is from a wonderful account called The Biden Accomplishments Guy. This is an unironic sort of Biden brag account. Like a lot of us tried to tell y'all, the 14th Amendment was never taken off the table. It was always there as a break glass in case of emergency option. But it would have been just that, a last-ditch, untested emergency measure that brought tremendous risk with it. So what are they talking about? This is from an NBC article detailing how this deal got done. The White House was considering the unprecedented step of bypassing Congress altogether and invoking the Constitution's 14th Amendment, which states that the validity of the public debt shall not be questioned. In other words, they were going to argue in court that they don't need a debt ceiling deal because the whole process of debate over raising the debt ceiling is illegitimate and unconstitutional because the 14th Amendment says pretty clearly, I mean, I didn't go to Columbia Law School or anything, but this seems to be pretty cut and dry. The validity of public debt shall not be questioned. That seems to be that seems to be game over, no? I mean, you have a right-wing court who could just throw that out, I suppose, if they wanted to. But that seems like something you could have been arguing since day one, since you got in office, because you knew this was coming, and you knew that this fight was going to happen after your first midterm, which is when you were almost certain to lose the House. So why couldn't you make this argument at the beginning to at least exhaust that option? It, like I said, it seems to me like a pretty clear-cut case that, yeah, this whole process is bunk. If the 14th Amendment says you're not allowed to threaten the validity of the Congress's debts, of the government's debts, then what are you talking about? We're going to force a default on the debt if we don't get our way. Like, I don't understand how you're even allowed to do that given the text of the 14th Amendment. But of course they didn't invoke that because, as we've said on this show for the past couple weeks, Joe Biden is a Bill Clinton-style Democrat, and what do Bill Clinton-style Democrats love doing more than anything else? They love working with Republicans to gut the social safety net. So maybe the reason why they didn't make that argument is because they wanted to be in this situation from day one. They couldn't wait for the Republicans to take Congress and then force their hand and, I guess we need work requirements for food stamps now, maybe Medicaid, student loans. Yeah, we said we would try to help you, but that looks like it's just imploding step by step by step. And knowing Joe Biden's history, it's not at all beyond suspicion that this was his plan all along. In fact, I think it is more than just suspicion. I think it's about 99-1 that this was part of his plan. Right? We're gonna lose the House, and then I'm gonna have to compromise because that's what I've always really wanted to do all along. That's what he's been doing his entire career. Why stop now? This seems to be working out pretty well for him. He's got a deal that's going to pass. He has most of the GOP on board, most of his Democrat goons on board. This is bipartisanship. This is the two parties coming together. And what did George Carlin say? Whenever you hear bipartisanship, get ready because you're about to take it in the ass. That means Democrats and Republicans are working together, and they never work together to help you. They work together to screw you.
That's homophobic.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Gotta watch what I say now.
Watch it. You know, we're not going to get any more super chats. Yeah, I think Biden, if you look at his trajectory, he's not the brightest guy. He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I think, Biden always had all this resentment about being an also-ran. He's got a little bit of the Nixon thing going on there of not being the one who went to the good schools like the Obamas, right? Always felt like he was being made fun of by the Obama team. So I think when he first came into office, he really wanted to outdo Obama. He wanted to be remembered as more consequential than Obama. He wanted to be more beloved than Obama. He wanted to be this great and consequential president. And that went tits up pretty fast because he really didn't have the courage of his convictions. He didn't have the belief system. He didn't have the core convictions that might have made him a great president. And who knows how many brain cells he's still working with besides. So very quickly, he just reverted to being the Joe Biden that he's always been. He's always been this guy. We were going to pull the video, but we decided most of you are politics junkie enough. You probably know the famous video of Biden on the floor of the Senate saying, I'm talking about all of it. I want it all on the table. Social Security. I'm talking about everything. This is who he's always been. He's the reason you can't dispatch your student loans in bankruptcy. Joe Biden is the reason. Joe Biden is the reason. And I'm sorry, we're going to get into RFK later. I read an article that was done about RFK, a little bit about Marianne, but they mostly focused on RFK, about how much discontent there is in the Democratic Party. I can't remember which outlet printed this. He talks about, once again, I really like Joe Biden. Joe Biden has been a friend of my family for many years. I'm sorry. Take a step back for a second. I know we got some RFK stands, but look, if he's talking that way about the man who literally is more responsible for locking up 2 generations of mostly black men than any living politician, that's a good friend of my family. So what does that say about him? We are all conditioned to lesser and greater extents to treat these political figures like aristocrats. There is something slavish in human nature that causes us to forgive sins in powerful and prominent people that we would never forgive in our next door neighbor. You are talking about a man who destroyed millions of lives, millions of families, and that's your friend of your family? Fuck you, RFK. Go fuck yourself. Right there, as soon as you say that, you have lost all moral authority with me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. All right, let's do some super chats here real quick. And then we will get to our final bit before the main segments here. Moving right along, a lot to cover, but we're moving at a nice professional and economical pace. Thank you guys all for being here. Please hit that like button, everybody, and please hit that subscribe button as well. Not only are we not at 9,700 yet, we are back down to 9,690. We lost one of you guys. Was it something we said? Oh,
it was probably that drag picture. We had a homophobe.
Yeah, we probably had some real target boycotters.
They thought I was on their side.
They're gonna come for us now. The Daily Wire is gonna boycott DueDissidence. Yeah.
Apparently, for anyone who's been following that story, apparently Elon overruled whatever executive said that. Executive, because they made a deal. They were going to stream.
Yeah, What is a Woman? They're streaming it now. They're competing with us.
Yeah. A lot of our audience is probably there.
Yeah, they're probably watching. That's how you know you have a viewpoint diverse show. A third of our audience is watching Savvy, and a third of our audience is watching that. And the real crazies are here anyway.
So they had a deal, and then they were told that it was going to be flagged as hate speech, and apparently Elon directly intervened. So now they're airing it and supposedly not being throttled.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I would imagine they were not going to throttle it if they're going to stream the whole movie. How can they do that? All right, let's do some of these super chats here. Okay, we got a decent number. Thank you guys very much. I noticed somebody said, yeah, DueDissidence shows the headlines take a while. Well, they take a while because we got to read your super chats because you guys are so kind to us. That's why they take a little while. That's a good problem to have. So thank you guys very much. Cool Blue, thanks for the $4.99. The Succession line by patriarch Logan Roy, played by Brian Cox, is applicable to all his adult children. It is not difficult to understand their fates. All right, well, Russell can respond to that, but no spoilers. We don't want to get in trouble. You really piss people off when we do spoilers by accident. I learned that the hard way. I accidentally spoiled the Avengers Endgame movie on Facebook because I just thought it was common knowledge that a certain character,
I mean, I think this long after you can.
Well, now, but like a few weeks after the movie came out, I blurted it out, and I just assumed it was common knowledge because I didn't see that movie, and I knew it. So I'm like, well, if I didn't see it and I know it, then it's got to be out there. But no, man, I had a few people, you ruined the movie for me. I haven't seen it yet. They were pretty pissed. So anyway,
I really do want to do a segment on Succession because it was... Watching that final season, I felt like if Paddy Chayefsky were alive today, this is the show he might have written. It has its finger on the pulse of where we are in a way that really reminded me a lot of Network. And the writing was just beautiful. Some of those scenes, some of the monologues are just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I heard it was very good. It got great response from the people I know who watched that show. Long story short, higher chances RFK runs third party than supports BDS. Well, yeah, got that right. Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Fancy Pants, smash that like button, fellas. Well, thank you for the donation, and thanks for putting out the good word. Yes, smash that like button. Here's James Vanderzand, and one of the OG dissident supporters. If you think James Vanderbeek seems upset now, imagine what would have happened if someone took out the spaces between the Van, the Der, the Beek when writing his name. Yeah, we need extra bulla 2024. I think I know where you're getting at there because you are a James Vander, all one word. So you're James Vanderzanden, not James Vanderbeek, but it's all one word. It's all one word. So I think I get where you're going there. But thank you, James. Appreciate that. And yes, we do need extra bulla. So everybody tune in Sunday night. We have an exclusive update from the Bullet campaign I think you're going to be very excited about. Meteor Dreams. I enjoy your show. Everyone has their opinions. That's how it should be. And I am a he. Oh, okay, good. Also, Russell, have you tried Juan Valdez coffee? It's quite good. Have you?
I have not. Isn't that the guy who used to be in the commercial with the donkey and the sack of coffee?
Is it?
Juan Valdez, yeah. That was like a brand character.
All right. Well, you should try it.
I am Juan Valdez. In the hills of Colombia, we have a special way of growing the beans. Yeah, it was like that.
You should try it. I think.
But Meteor Dreams, if I ever bring back that show, you got to comp.
What show?
Naked Holidays. That's what that still was from.
Oh yeah, the Naked Holiday show. Yep, I remember seeing advertisements for that. Tusker, thanks for the $5. Yeah, but that expired child tax credit, makes up for everything. Indeed. Russell, let's get your singing bowl out. Leprechaun Alley signed up and became a member of the channel. Thank you, Leprechaun Alley.
Oh, snap.
All new members earn a good luck chime on the singing bowl. So there we go. Beautiful. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate that. Or ma'am, I don't know. Why am I assuming?
Don't assume that leprechauns are men.
Yeah, leprechauns. Yeah,
I mean they've got to reproduce, right?
Insulted the leprechaun community.
Insulted.
Baron Saturday. I shouldn't insult leprechauns, especially since we're so big in Ireland. That's
we are very big in Ireland.
Don't want to make too many assumptions about
don't start making those Lucky Charms jokes. They hate that shit.
Exactly. Baron Saturday, talk about AOC's Twitter hack debacle. Are you talking about the parody, or was her account actually hacked? It looked to some people may have thought it was a hack because they may have thought the parody account was her account, which maybe that's why some people were under the impression. As far as I know, unless something broke since in the time we started the show, her account has not been compromised in any way. But we will get to it, sir. We will get to it. And thank you for the donation. Franklin, thanks for the $9.99. The president is required to pay debts with money he has, but if no money is appropriated by Congress, cannot pay debts. No sorry con made of enumerated powers only. Yeah, but can't they just legislate that out? And is there not a legal case to be made that he can override them, or are you saying that the executive is not instilled with that power, and so that case would fail? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, there's a question of whether he can simply have the Fed print the money required to pay the debt. And there's also a question of whether Wall Street would be satisfied with that, whether they would consider that proper or a game, which in the end it is a game, man. I mean, they print we print the money, right? It's a game. It's all a game. It's all conceptual. There is a question of whether Wall Street would go for that concept or not, which is what they really care about.
All right. Well, let's go to our final headline of the night here. So, folks, as you know, we covered a bit of the Target boycotts. That was about a week ago. I think that was last Thursday's show. And, you know, I was a little bit unimpressed with it. There was a video of Benny Johnson. I think he's a Charlie Kirk acolyte walking around the store, you know, bitching that a checkered colored rainbow shirt was positioned in the front of the store near the kids section. I'm like, all right, come on, man, you're reaching now. Like, they can't have a rainbow shirt near the kids, so that's too much for you now. This is getting a little fucking fakakta, I think. But then I made a trip to Target myself, since I was not boycotting the store, and I came across something that kind of upset me a little bit. Now, some of you have already seen this because we put this out as a short and we put it up on Twitter, but we have not played this on the main show yet. And so this was my trip to Target, making what I thought was a very unpleasant discovery about the merchandising and the marketing.
All of you know I'm a New Yorker, and here I am shopping in Target, and I just happened to pass by this section where we have here, look, this is a onesie in New York, right? I'm a New Yorker, New York. This is a New York Target store. Here's a onesie, Boston Red Sox, a Boston Red Sox onesie. Why is this being marketed to my children? My children, you understand? Children. My children are gonna roll by this and they're gonna see this and ask, Daddy, what's that? I don't have to explain to them what the Boston Red Sox are. They're 4 years old. They're not ready to learn about the Boston Red Sox yet. Really, Target? Really? Really? Wow.
All right, so some of you have probably seen that already, but in case you missed it, there it was. Now, apparently, that little video I did made somewhat of an impact. So, Russell, do you want to set this up?
Okay, so Target was just starting to recover from the other boycott. And then Keaton comes out, he does this video, and it has just been devastating for Target. I can show you the stock price. Right. You could see they were starting to recover.
Yeah,
they were starting to recover from the Pride. Mm-hmm. And as soon as Keaton released that, boom.
Yeah,
boom.
Yeah.
It just dipped. So now Rochelle Favre, who was an actress in Twilight, I don't know if she's doing this for attention, but apparently her child is a Red Sox fan. So she responded to Target removing all the Red Sox from the front of the store.
So I just walked into Target, and the right behind me here where you see all these lovely swimsuits, that's where the display used to be. And I came in here 2 days ago, and my 7-year-old, who's a Red Sox fan, saw it and said, "Look, Mom, it's the Red Sox. Look, they're gonna celebrate me." And because some people complained and threw some stuff to the ground, or I don't know what happened, they have moved the Red Sox section to the back of the store. So the next time my 7-year-old comes to Target, or rather, I can't bring them here anymore, at least for the entire month of June, because if they walk in, and all the other people who walk in and go, "Where'd it go?" are going to realize that they are being successful in trying to erase them. We could do so much better than this. We're not supposed to negotiate with the terrorists.
All right, now
we can do so much better than this.
All right, now listen. I mean, you call me a terrorist. Listen, if it were a Connecticut store, I could have let it go. I could have let it slide. Because Connecticut, you know, you have your southwestern part of the state is basically part of the New York City metropolitan area, so that's Yankee country. But then the eastern part of the state is sort of deeper into New England. That's Red Sox territory. So if it was a Connecticut store, I would let it slide. That's New England, technically. Okay, fine. Look, it's a New York store. I was raised a Yankee fan. I'm trying to raise my children as Yankee fans, and I don't feel like taking my child through a store like that, like I should have to have them exposed to this alternative lifestyle that they're not ready to understand yet. I mean, we're talking about the Boston Red Sox here in New York.
Well, and this is also...
You can order your Red Sox shit online if you live in New York. Go on the website and order it.
That's it. You don't have to have it.
They'll have the clerk go back and get it for you if you need it. You don't have to display it where my kid can see it.
Yeah, you don't have to shove it in people's faces like this.
Exactly.
And also, a lot of people are saying, some people are calling for a wellness check on this child because clearly she's pushing on the Red Sox on the kid, right? You know, there's this whole debate. Are they born Red Sox fans? Do they make them Red Sox fans? It's so obvious that she has pushed the Red Sox ideology on her child. Nobody's born just the kid just came out a Red Sox fan.
A Red Sox
clearly
fan, exactly.
the kid was indoctrinated.
Doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
No, this is indoctrination.
Yeah. And you can even tell, I mean, her voice clearly cracked every time she said the word Red Sox.
See, I think that was just, you know, you can see why she hasn't worked since Twilight. She's not a very good actress.
Yeah, she doesn't have that vocal control anymore. You know, her voice cracks every once in a while. It almost sounded a bit like Russell, you know, for a moment there. When it switched to the Red Sox.
A little bit. It was weird. It was almost like, well, it's what I've always said. The Red Sox are demonic. They're a demonic force. So she almost sounded possessed every time she said Red Sox. It was weird. It was like Asmodeus was taking control of her.
Yeah, exactly. See, you got a funny and it's not even Sunday. How do you like that? Take a bow.
How do you like that?
All right, let's get to a far more serious segment here, folks. Here's our first main segment of the evening at 9:24 p.m. At a May 17th concert in Berlin, Roger Waters took the stage dressed as the rock star turned fascist character from the 1982 film based on Pink Floyd's iconic album, The Wall. And so here's Roger Waters dressed in character as part of the show. And so, you know, this is sort of imitating, you know, SS garb, although there are no actual swastika displays on the material. You know, he's careful not to make it that literal. It is a satiric sort of representation of that time and of that sort of mindset and of that attitude. And so, Russell, you are a lifelong Pink Floyd fan. I'm a fan of their music very much, but I'm not as well versed in the history because I was not around for most of it. So do you want to explain in better detail what we're looking at here?
Okay, so the Wall album is a rock opera about a rock star named Pink Floyd. It's a semi-autobiographical opera about Roger Waters' own life, how the loss of his father fighting the Nazis in World War II impacted him, being kind of a lonely kid, being raised by his mother. And the character winds up having kind of a nervous breakdown in the album and becoming seeing themselves as a fascist leader, seeing this connection between being a rock star and being having the power of a fascist autocrat. So we have Bob Geldof portrayed the character in the movie. So you could see this is something that's been around since 1980. Roger Waters has been doing this in concert since 1980. I saw this movie when I was 13, and it never occurred to me that this was meant to be taken as a statement of support for fascism. It was very clear to me as a 13-year-old that this was a statement against fascism, that it was illustrating the horrors of fascism, especially when so much of the album leading up to that is concerned with the horrors of World War II and the loss of the father fighting against Nazis in World War II. So you just have this brilliant iconography that was created by Gerald Scarfe, who was the longtime artist and animator for Pink Floyd and designer. Roger Waters actually went to school for architecture. That's a big part of why their stage sets are so elaborate and well conceived. He's always had a hand in that. But the crossed hammers in place of the swastika. I would put forth the song Run Like Hell on the wall captures the terror and the horror of living under fascism as well as any piece of art that you will ever find. Now you have dishonest actors who do not like Roger Waters' politics trying to take this out of context and pretend that he's putting on some kind of pro-fascist show, which is just absolutely absurd. So I believe I have seen every single concert Roger Waters has done solo post Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd was actually before my time. They broke up right around the time that the Wall movie came out. But so I went to the last concert, which supposedly is really going to be his last concert. He's billing this as his farewell tour. And I believe him because he got into things about Syd Barrett, who, if any of you know the backstory, Syd Barrett was the original leader of the band, and he eventually kind of had a schizophrenic breakdown. And the ghost of Syd Barrett haunts a lot of their music, particularly Shine On You Crazy Diamond is written about him. So he talks a lot about his relationship with Syd Barrett in the show. I've never seen him even mention that. So, yeah, I think this is it. He's kind of saying goodbye. But I have some of the particularly political footage from the show that I think is getting him this backlash. They're hiding behind this Nazi metaphor, but this is really what's upsetting them.
Yeah, so we'll play this, and this was shot on Russell's phone at the concert, so, you know, we'll have Russell kind of talk us through a little bit of what we're watching at that time. So here we go. I'm sorry. I screwed up on the volume. My apologies. Here we go.
If you're one of those, I love Pink Floyd, but I can't stand Roger's politics, people, you might do well to fuck off to the bar right now.
All right, so what is this?
All right, so this is they have a list of different people who have been killed by the state. And this is one of the things they very dishonestly used to attack him with, because he has Anne Frank, and after that, the name of a Palestinian journalist. They're saying that's terrible to compare the genocide of 6 million people to a Palestinian journalist. Right there, when you're making that argument, you kind of lost the argument.
Right. I mean, it's as anti-racist and as anti-discriminatory a statement as you can be. It's literally appealing to the common humanity of Palestinians and Jews.
Well, and you can see this in this footage. I mean, it's what really struck me watching the concert is Roger Waters represents an older idea of what a rock star is and can be before it got hijacked by people like Elton John,
or Bono,
Bono, turning it into, you know, running around with Davos and, you know, promoting Prada, right? I mean, they made that all one thing, you know. You're never going to see a guy like Roger Waters at Fashion Week. You know, it was really, it was really people, you know, certain rock stars ingratiated themselves into that world and made this music non-threatening. And, you know, they made it a brand. They made it just another consumer item. Roger Waters, I mean, watching this concert, he's really the last of his kind, or virtually the last of his kind. It really, it's almost like going to watch a jazz concert at this point. You know, it's so different from what's out there now. It's so grounded in an earlier sensibility of what the political responsibilities of someone in his position would be, and the kinds of stands and statements they would make. I mean, the Rolling Stones used to be dangerous, right? I mean, you know, now it's nobody would take them that way. Pay them enough, they'll play for anybody, right? So it also strikes me, and I have some of the footage of him in the fascist segment.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but I want to. Yeah, we'll let it play in sequence, obviously, right?
Okay. All
okay.
right.
So this is the sort of woke part of the show where he lists off all the various sort of groups of rights that are important, which we would all agree: indigenous rights. He puts reproductive rights on the screen. That got obviously a big applause. Trans rights are part of this scroll here, obviously. That comes up as part of this bit here, as you can see that scroll going through there. There it comes. Now this part, interesting. So if we listen to the applause for calling Donald Trump a war criminal is quite loud. And then my guess is because this was a New York City audience, that kind of died down once Joe Biden's face appeared. Let's
I don't know actually. Let's see. Let's see what the evidence tells us.
Not much either way. Very interesting. Not much either way, but as you can see there, Trump dropped more drones than Obama, and then that switches to Joe Biden.
All right, so
and here, so this is the imagery in question here in New York. So go ahead.
Yeah. So turn it up a bit. Okay, so basically the idea is Pink has been subsumed by this character, right? And now he goes through this whole thing of play the volume, and I'll explain it afterwards. Basically, there's like a list of slurs of people in the audience who should be removed.
Right. So it's clearly, a performance piece, obviously. I mean, just very, very obviously.
Right. This is a statement. And again, all of this within the context of the album, Run Like Hell, all of this is kind of together, which is just this terrifying vision of being chased down by fascists in the street, right? There's this terrifying, paranoid chorus of run, like you're being chased by this fascist gang, right? And then this is, well, now we're going to find out where you fans really stand. Do we have any queers in the audience tonight? Put them up against the wall, right? Now, if you watch, and he goes on with, various ethnic slurs of people, okay, or do we have any of those kinds? Put them up against the wall. If you watch this and you take that literally, you are a fucking idiot. But of course, they don't take it literally. It's an excuse. They know damn well this man lost his father in World War II, has been doing this for over 40 years. And the statement of the entire show, you can see from what we spliced together here, is very anti-war, very anti-state violence from anybody, whether it's from Israelis, and that's really the issue here, whether it's from the United States, whether it's from China, whether it's from Russia, whether it's from anybody. There's a sequence I actually didn't include where he was talking about Russia's nuclear arms program, and along with the United States nuclear arms program. He's equal opportunity. He's not on anybody's side. He has always been a strong advocate for peace. Having been a fan of his for as long as I have, I can tell you back when Stallone was making all those red baiting movies, he would regularly call out Sylvester Stallone in his concerts all through the Rambo era. He was always bringing up Sylvester Stallone and what a terrible thing he was doing with this Cold War propaganda with his movies. So he's always been this person. He's never shown favor to anyone. He is against state power. He's against the violence of the state, no matter whose state we're talking about and in all of its forms. And clearly, if that's your position, you're going to be speaking out against what Israel does to the Palestinians.
Of course. But after the concert, it was announced that German police were investigating Roger Waters because they don't have the kind of speech laws that we have here on the books, and they are, of course, especially sensitive, for understandable reason, of course, about Nazi imagery and all that kind of stuff. And so according to a spokesperson for the German police, this was a quote they gave to the press, "We are investigating on suspicion of incitement to public hatred because the clothing worn on stage could be used to glorify or justify Nazi rule, thereby disturbing the public peace." Well, you know, Germans are not known for their sense of humor nor their sense of irony. A couple of Jews like us know that as better than anybody could, I think. Yeah, I mean, that's just taking it to such an absurd level where you can't really even interpret this as a good faith, misguided interpretation of the performance. So, Russ, if you want to read this was a tweet that Roger Waters put out. This was a statement that he issued in response to that news. So here, I don't know if you can full screen that if you want to read that. It's a little small on my end.
Not only that, I will also mention over the past 40 years, I didn't look it up. I would bet my life that Roger Waters has done that bit in Germany. How many times has he gone on tour with this character?
Yeah, I mean,
he had to have performed this in Germany.
40 years?
40 years.
Yeah.
My recent performance in Berlin has attracted bad faith attacks from those who want to smear and silence me because they disagree with my political views and moral principles. The elements of my performance that have been questioned are quite clearly a statement in opposition to fascism, injustice, and bigotry in all its forms. Attempts to portray those elements as something else are disingenuous and politically motivated. The depiction of an unhinged fascist demagogue has been a feature of my shows since Pink Floyd's The Wall in 1980. I have spent my entire life speaking out against authoritarianism and oppression wherever I see it. When I was a child after the war, the name of Anne Frank was often spoken in our house. She became a permanent reminder of what happens when fascism is left unchecked. My parents fought the Nazis in World War II, with my father paying the ultimate price. Regardless of the consequences of the attacks against me, I will continue to condemn injustice and all those who perpetrate it. So at first, the Germans were not going to allow him to do the concert. A German court, which honestly surprised me a little bit, actually defended his right to perform that concert. He was performing in a venue that's sensitive. This venue in Hamburg actually goes back to the Nazi era, and 3,000 Jews were kept in that stadium before being transported to concentration camps. So in respect for that, and he actually said on stage, "I know about Anne Frank," so he didn't wear the coat that night in that performance. But he still... from what I understand, he did that bit. He did that sequence.
Right.
I mean, if you're really against fascism, why would you not want him doing that show? Because I'm going to tell you, artists like Roger Waters, this is his farewell concert, right? They're passing from the stage, and there are no obvious successors to make such bold, clear, moral statements against this fascism that you're so terrified of.
Yeah, no, and Germany is known to sort of remember the Holocaust, as part of almost a routine part of life. They are very, very conscious, on a very, very present basis, on a very regular basis, of the obviously just unspeakable sin of that. And so if anything, would they not appreciate him calling attention to that? Like, if you recognize the intention, which they obviously do, then why would you not understand, okay, this is a guy who's raising awareness about fascism and the dangers of it
exactly
right here? Like, if anything, you would think that is a venue that would be sort of uniquely welcoming to that message. But of course, because they know he is an outspoken advocate for Palestinian rights, this is the real issue, right? The real issue is they don't want someone who is critical of the Israeli state coming and saying things like that and putting the, Shireen Abu Akleh's name up on the scroll, next to Anne Frank, because that's a dangerous message for the powers that be.
That's it. And they'll smear you any way that they can. They don't care what's true. I don't believe. Sure, you'll have idiots who hear this secondhand on Twitter who just go, "Oh, yeah, did you see Roger Waters in that leather coat? He's a fascist." Sure, but the people actually making the smear know damn well what his concert is about and what his politics are. They found an opening. And I must say, and I think that a lot of the people who might be inclined to cancel Roger Waters don't even know who he is. Like, they're just not even tuned into this. But when I was putting together this segment and watching the Up Against the Wall scene, I say, yeah, I mean, of course, people with no sense of proportion, irony, satire, this bit would almost inevitably come under attack because you're not supposed to say these things in any context, right? Not even to make a statement against them, which is stupid, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, yes, no doubt about that.
You'll just drive it underground.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I think Waters, like you said, going to a concert of his is like going to a jazz show. It's something that there's a novelty about it. And novelty is perhaps the wrong word, because novelty sort of implies that it's not relevant anymore, whereas I think Roger Waters is very, very relevant now. But it feels like his shows were meant for a different audience. It's not meant for a social media audience, time. Right? It's not meant for an audience of instant gratification and low attention spans. I mean, even the Pink Floyd music was all like that. I mean, those Pink Floyd albums, they're true experiences as albums. It's not just a collection of songs. I mean, in the case of The Wall, that's a concept album, right? But even a lot of their other albums, it's very sort of progressive music, these sort of ambient soundscapes that flow into each other. It's not like a Rolling Stones record where it's 10 songs about 4 minutes each and out, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a different kind of thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's not to get off on a tangent, but it's a big part of why I can't really listen to current music. It's been so. Frank Zappa did a really interesting little monologue about this in an interview where he said, back when I was coming up, you had the old guys with the cigar, and they didn't really understand this music, but they knew they didn't understand it. So when you went to them with a track, they said, you know what? We'll make 5,000 of them. See how it does. All right.
Right.
They said, maybe it would fly and maybe it wouldn't. Today, you got the kids with the music degrees running Capitol Records.
Right.
And they are just trying to put your stuff into this very formulaic box that they think will sell. And in the end, yes, they know music in a way that the guys with the cigar didn't, but you were better off with the guys with the cigar.
Right.
So the guys with the cigar are the ones who let groups like Pink Floyd do a double album of mostly instrumentals, right? Like, nobody would ever let you do that now. At the same time, the technology has so degraded attention spans. Who would listen to it if you did?
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to do the second part of this segment now, which I'm going to actually set up as its own clip since that one ran a little bit long. But in response to the Roger Waters controversy surrounding his concert in Germany, where he appeared in this garb that created all sorts of bad faith criticism thrown his way, presidential candidate RFK Jr. decided to defend him. And so he tweeted out the following in response to the
That's what the Kennedys call profiles encourage.
Yeah, right, exactly. A profile encourage. Here's Robert Kennedy Jr. tweets, Roger, you are the global hero Orwell had in mind when he said, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. The high priests of the totalitarian orthodoxies are trying to silence you with censorship, gaslighting, and defamation. Please keep speaking truth to power. What a wonderful statement. But, if you look towards the bottom of the screen there, you will see that that tweet had since been deleted. He deleted that tweet pretty shortly after he issued it. As you could see, 1 million views, 1,400 retweets, did pretty well. But he took it down.
I'm working on a sequel to my uncle's book. It's going to be called Profiles in Deleted Courage.
Yeah, Profiles in Redacted Courage. Right? Yeah, exactly. So let's take a look at his updated tweet in response to having deleted his initial show of support. In my remarks about Roger Waters, I was referring to his dissent on COVID, of course, and the war in Ukraine. I have only recently learned about some of his other views, which I do not share. I support Israel's right to exist within secure borders, and I also support the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people. So that disappointed quite a few people, including those who had perhaps been warming to RFK over the past few weeks and months. And
we called it. We called it. And one person who actually took matters into his own hands to press him on this issue further was our friend Craig Pasta Jardula, who oddly enough issued a tweet when Roger Waters deleted that initial show of support saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't jump on the guy too much. Maybe we should hear him out. And he got a lot of pushback for saying that. But to his credit, he was at an RFK campaign event today in New Hampshire. And he asked him to explain why the change in tone, why the change of heart, why did he initially express support and then retract it. So this is a clip that's been making the rounds on Twitter. So thank you, Pasta, for doing this. Very good job here. Let's hear RFK explain his thought process.
Mr. Kami, a lot of people are confused about the tweet storm. I call it the tweet heard around the world. A couple tweets were put up in support of Roger Waters and then taken down. Do you want to give us a little explanation of why they were taken down and also your stance on Israel and Palestine?
I tweeted that. I made the tweet applauding Roger Waters' courage in opposing the COVID mandates and the Ukraine war. I was unaware of his position on Israel. And when I learned that, I immediately took it down. My position of Israel is that I support Israel. My family has a long relationship with Israel. I support its right to exist and its right to protect its security.
Ooh, not good. Not good. Not a good answer there. Not very impressive there. And, look, one of the reasons I say that is, not just because he retracted his support for Roger Waters, but also the concert in question was clearly having to do with his stance on Israel. Now, look, even if you didn't know that going in, you certainly know he wasn't in hot water over COVID-related shit or over the Ukraine war. Like, that wasn't the subjects being litigated, right? And like that had nothing to do with why he was in trouble. So why would you issue a statement of support based on your sort of areas of agreement with Roger Waters over issues that were not relevant to this particular dispute, right? That's a little bit of like, okay, well, why would you chime in just because you like Roger Waters' opinion on these other things? Like, you didn't understand what the controversy was?
To be fair, Bobby seems like the kind of guy who probably tripped on acid to the Metal album. So he's probably adored the band since the Syd Barrett days. I think he fired off a tweet without bothering to find out what the controversy was.
Yeah, that sounds like that's probably what it was. That's probably
they're pushing back on Roger Waters, and he agrees with me on COVID lockdown. Blah, 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 blah. Just wrote a tweet.
Yeah, that could be it. I mean, I would probably guess you are right about that. But the other thing about that answer is it doesn't address any concern for the Palestinian people, and Pasta follows up with him and says, hey, in that answer you gave, what about the Palestinian people?
And the Palestinians?
And a humane outcome and a recognition ultimately of the aspirations of the Palestinian people is important for everybody.
Thank you.
All right, so that's a lot like speaking to, I believe in the humane treatment and the aspirations of the black people in South Africa. Yeah, it's important that we have some sort of consideration for them too, but I support the South African apartheid regime. That's a lot of what that sounds like there. That's just a very mild way of talking about a very, very serious issue. This was a tweet that Claire Daly, who is a member of the European Parliament, issued today. This was a video that she put out detailing some of what's been going on in the West Bank and in Gaza as recently as this month. Some pretty staggering numbers she reads off here.
For 5 days earlier this month, Israel attacked and bombed Gaza 323 times. 10 civilians were killed, 1,100 people displaced. More than 150,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed or injured in Gaza and the West Bank since 2008. 33,000 of those were children. The EU stands by and watches this happen and calls Israel our friend. We construct houses and schools in the West Bank. The Israelis come and destroy them. We cannot consider ourselves a union of values and continue to call Israel our friend. We need to have this conversation, but in light of the time constraints that we are now already under, and the positive remarks by some of the other groups that they will facilitate a full and necessary debate on this in June, I'll withdraw it on that basis.
All right.
That guy. Girl.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, look, that is the way you have to speak about these things. If you are a leader of conviction, if you're a leader worth supporting, and especially if you're a leader with, I'm sorry to burst the bubble of those who have their hopes up about him becoming the 47th president of the United States, but a candidate with such little shot to win, like if you want us to rally around a candidate in principle because we think they're fighting the good fight for its own sake, I'm sorry, this is a red line for a lot of people. This is an issue that you have to be right about. This is an issue that Bernie Sanders is not very strong on, although even Bernie is stronger than that. I think even Bernie dipshit Sanders would have enough balls to not say a thing like that. And so, that's an issue that you have to be a lot better on if you want this sort of credibility that you've been trying to earn with factions of the left that, obviously RFK has some momentum within. But that is just a very, very disappointing chapter in a campaign that is trying to brand itself as the moral alternative to Biden and Trump or whoever the Republicans nominate, right? I mean, that's a very, very severe misstep. And, you see this circle up. You see this sentiment sort of bubble up online when these issues have their day, which every few months, these issues sort of get their day in the sun and then they go away a little bit, unfortunately. People are very, very passionate about this issue, just like they're very passionate about the jab issue, which is why RFK has that solid base of support that he does. But this is another one of those issues that people who take anti-establishment politics very seriously, in this case, the sort of Israel criticism is more a left-wing thing than a right-wing thing, obviously. But this is not something that people are particularly soft on for a very good reason. And so, he really stepped in it there.
Yeah, for politicians of his generation, Israel, going against Israel was just absolutely verboten. It was, he's coming from a time and a place where that's synonymous with anti-Semitism. And I felt like looking at how he's handled all this, that's kind of where he's coming from. He's coming from a much older politics around Israel. To him, conceding Palestinian rights is already being modern, right? Like the idea of calling Israel an apartheid state, you'll never get that from RFK. You're never getting that from the guy who, Look, as soon as he called Joe Biden his good friend, that was all I needed to know. Honestly,
Right.
that was all I needed to know. And listen, I didn't want to say this, but Zach Keaton needs an operation, and we've been baiting you all night, man. Where's the super chats? Where's the money?
He's giving us.
Where's the money?
He's giving where's the money?
I didn't want to say this, but he needs a kidney. They can't pay for it. He's got they don't give any health insurance to those Grubhub drivers or whatever the fuck he does.
It's good outreach to the fans. Hey, listen, where's the money?
We've been baiting you all night with this.
We've been
RFK
trying to
shit.
get you. Yeah, right, exactly.
We got together before the show. We were like, Keaton, how are we going to get you this operation? Let's talk shit about RFK.
Yeah, we got
Zach will come through.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. All right, well, let's talk some shit here. This is a lighter segment. We figure we will strike a bit of a lighter tone here, but this is quite the funny story, I think. So, when was this? On the May 22nd. So, yeah. So, earlier this month, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez press release parody Twitter account posted for the first time in nearly 4 years. So, this sort of parody handle is not actually new. They had been posting back in 2019, and they had disappeared for 4 whole years and tweeted for the first time in a long time on May 22nd, press release, AOC asked the U.S. government to apply for an Amex Black Card to avoid defaulting on its current debt. Now, that's one of their weaker jokes, I think. And because that account had been dark for a long period of time, obviously, didn't do fantastically well here. 1,084 likes, 164 retweets. Not terrible, but not great, right? Not great. And so what we have more recently, they started sharing, they started posting much more frequently. And so we have some other tweets that we will show from this AOC press release parody account. So this was the one that got a lot of eyes on it, probably because they tagged Elon Musk, and Elon Musk responded with the sort of fire emoji. So this got 64,000 likes, which was a big jump up. I mean, they were averaging from like 5,000 to 8,000 likes a piece. But obviously tagging Elon responding, that sort of put this account on the map. This might be the wine talking, but I've got a crush on Elon Musk. Feeling cute, might go to the southern border for another photo shoot. That was a kind of funny one.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. Again, 6,000 likes, right? I mean, aside from that Elon tweet, they didn't have many blockbusters, right? They did fairly well. They were getting out there. I'm sure they were having a good time with this. But they were just sort of, having some fun until AOC herself decides to chime in on this and tweets from the actual AOC Twitter handle, FYI, there's a fake account on here impersonating me and going viral. The Twitter CEO has engaged it, boosting visibility. Funny how she didn't tag Elon in that. She said the Twitter CEO, probably because she didn't want Elon responding to that, because that would only create an environment that made it more likely for this parody account to go viral. I'm assuming that's why she didn't tag him. But she said it's releasing false policy statements and gaining spread. I'm assuming I am assessing, with my team how to move forward. In the meantime, be careful of what you see. I'm assessing with my team how to move forward. Implying that, what, is she going to try to have some action taken against this obviously joke account here? It even says parody in the bio.
I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid there are people making jokes about AOC. Oh, God, tell us what your team comes up with.
Right. What are you going to come up with here? And then, so the AOC parody account says, I can't believe someone would do that to us, as she quote tweets the actual AOC bit. And this put the account really very much on the map. This got 10.3 million views, 94.6 thousand likes, And now, since then, these tweets have gotten a lot more eyes on them. AOC then blocked the account, at which point the parody account said, I won. Now, say what you will about AOC. You can't take away from AOC that she is social media savvy. And being as savvy as she is on Twitter and Instagram and things like that, how did she not know that by complaining about this, she was going to make this parody account 100 times more viral than it already was?
That part is kind of amazing to me. But if you look at the pattern of behavior, particularly over the last year, where she's become one of the more prominent pro-censorship voices, doing an interview very shortly before Tucker was pulled off Fox News, advocating for the idea that the speech of Tucker and people like him on Fox is dangerous and that there should be some mechanism for taking them off the air. Then going on right after to say deplatforming works. And most damningly, I gotta say, I mean, we haven't thought very much of her for a long time. She keeps sinking lower and lower. She keeps managing to go below my low expectations. When she fired off a tweet talking about wanting Matt Taibbi held accountable after Mehdi Hassan did that dishonest hatchet job on him. Oh my God. Okay, so now you're into Taylor Lorenz territory. Like now you're a hall monitor who really has no reservations about trying to use the power of the state to silence journalists. And you're really like you're on the side of the Twitter censors. You're on the side of Plaskett. You're on the side of Wasserman Schultz. Right. God, what a fucking horrible disappointment she is. I can't believe what a disgusting fucking person she ended up being. I really, because I was, most of you know, I campaigned for her when she was a bartender. Like it's so sad to see how quickly she turned into not just a worthless member of Congress, but now an actively dangerous one. She's becoming,
yes,
in my opinion, very dangerous because she's really goes right to that safety cult that really appeals to the shit libs. You know, she frames everything in terms of safety, and there are people coming from outside and people doing unsafe things and trying to use that to build support for the idea of the state intervening in areas where no person who could reasonably be described as left thinks the state should be involved.
Yeah, no, she said that
disgusting.
Yeah, no, she said that to Jen Psaki right before Tucker got canned, actually. She said we're going to have to look into legislation, right? We can't just defer to these private entities, be they social media companies or TV networks and things like that. Like she wanted to go after Tucker, and, you know, I'm sure a lot of people who talk more or less like him. You know, she wanted to actually build a legal argument for the state intervening to take them off the air. And when Tucker was shit canned, she came out the day after, obviously, in that viral sort of Instagram video that she put out. Deplatforming works. What a great day, right? It works. This is how we deal with people, right?
So you tell me now. Who's a bigger threat to my freedom, AOC or Matt Gaetz? You tell me. Who's the bigger threat?
No, of course. And here's a tweet that came out afterwards here in response to this. I'm calling on Elon Musk to permanently suspend the AOC press parody account. Making fun of someone as important as me should never be allowed in a free society. Well played. You know, this account is hit and miss. Like some of them, you know, you can tell are just more like standard conservative pablum, but then some of them are actually quite funny. What was the other one?
What is she even thinking to get so offended by this? You're a famous public figure. You're world famous. You're going to get parodied. Look at us. We're a couple of schmucks. We don't even have 10,000 subscribers. We have people come for us.
Right. I mean, yeah, there's
Like,
going to
what
be
do
a
you
parody.
what do you expect? How could you be upset about it even? Why
Right.
would you even look at it? Why would you even care about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a joke. I mean, she talks about false policy statements. Like one of
It
the
says
tweets,
parody in the name.
it says parody, but like some of them are literally like, I'm gonna pass a law that like every time you fart, you have to plant a tree to make up for the methane that you release in the air. Like, I mean, you're gonna call that a false policy statement, as if it's not an obvious joke. Like, I haven't seen anything posted to this account that could be conceivably interpreted as an actual policy statement. Like, it's pretty broad humor. It's not fantastically subtle. You know?
This is what's so horrific about it. If you look at the implications, that she would go after an account labeled parody that is very obviously parody, that doesn't in any way attempt to really feasibly impersonate her,
right?
And to raise the alarm. Listen, people, there's something unsafe happening.
There's something going
and
on.
you should be scared. And I'm meeting with my team right now. She's become a very dangerous whack job at this point.
Be careful what you see. You might laugh.
Be careful. She did the same thing when she responded to pumping up the military at an event. Right? Oh, there are people coming from the outside. There are people coming from the outside. It's unsafe. Right. You know, people who wind up in the Democratic Party, I mean, they do tend much more to be susceptible to that kind of language. They're neurotic, very often neurotic people who it's very easy to scare with talk of safety. Right. This was part of, I don't want to get us thrown off YouTube, but this was part of the clash of cultures with Schmovid. You had certain people who tend to go towards the conservative direction who were like, let's not live in fear. And then you had the other people who were like, oh my God, I want to live like the boy in the plastic bubble until this is over. And those people are Democrats. You know? So that was a lot of the conflict.
Yeah, I just want to respond to this. Robert Griffin says, wrong, O. Keaton. Babylon Bee sounds more real than DC politicals. On occasion, it does. What I'm saying is this account is broader than that. It's broader humor. Right? It's not as subtle and dry as Babylon Bee can be at times.
Babylon Bee, I've often praised them and pointed them out as a great example of how crazy the world has gone because, you know, we talked about this a lot with Taibbi. In the world that we grew up in, the idea of a funny right-winger, that was like a contradiction in terms.
Right.
The idea that you would have a right-wing magazine that was funny.
Right.
Yeah, because now the left are the squares. Or not the left, you know what I mean.
Yeah, the libs.
Let's not get into the semantic shit tonight.
Exactly. All right, we're going to go a little bit out of order here because I realize I forgot. I apologize. I forgot to do our Patreon shout-out scroll. So you can support the show at patreon.com/DueDissidence to help support the show. And we're going to take some super chats. But since we have this scroll to do, we've had a caller wait for a while and express that they want to talk about this topic in particular. I'll admit Kiwi to the stream. Kiwi, you're on the air. I got a few minutes. What's up? Thanks for calling.
Hey guys, thanks. So as far as AOC, I want to push back a little bit on your thing about like AOC just doing this because like the pushback against Twitter having this parody account for AOC. In my opinion, it's fully focused on Elon owning Twitter. Because think about the alternative. Think about like a Ted Cruz parody account. If Ted Cruz had this same level of outrage against Twitter 2 years ago, it would be laughable in the media, right? Whereas AOC right now is positioning herself as the anti-Elon because Elon is this cultural figure on the right where it's acceptable to do this full media salvo on, right? And I put this article in the members chat about AOC accusing Elon of putting his finger on the scale during Turkey's presidential election.
Right.
God forbid God forbid Twitter put their finger on the scale during an election, much less a presidential election.
Right, as if
You
they
know what I
didn't do
mean?
that. Well, I see what you're getting at there, as if they didn't do that in the 2020 race. Yeah.
I mean, it's full on hypocrisy. Like no awareness of what Twitter was even, I don't know, like a year ago, 2 years ago at this point. You know what I mean? Like it's full on, like the media has turned against Twitter solely because of who owns it. Whereas when the same thing was happening from a different direction barely a year and a half ago, it wouldn't even get coverage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's an interesting point. On the other hand, this is part of, as Russ was talking about, a larger pattern of behavior with her.
That's it. This isn't a one-off.
Right, it's not a one-off.
Well, sure.
But I think you're right. I think part of the reason why they are particularly sensitive about Twitter is because they see any problem with what's going on Twitter as a sort of proxy where for all the faults they could find with Elon, right? So I think that's a fair point.
Sure, of course. Well, I mean, this is a phrase the right often drops, and they're not wrong about it. It's okay when we do it. And I mean, that's. I mean, it is. It's true, and this is certainly a case of that. They don't mind any kind of election interference. They don't mind any kind of censorship. They don't mind any kind of parody, as long as it's pointed at the right people. And then look at Tara Reade, who we're going to cover in the next segment.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Has there ever been a better example of the fundamental hollowness?
I'll let you guys speak your piece
culture
on that
signaling.
One. Yeah, for sure.
So what we'll do now, we got some super chats to get to. I knew you had something on Roger Waters, but we're going to do this Tara Reade segment after we do some super chats, and then if you're still around, I'll readmit you if you want to say something about the Roger Waters.
You pretty much
stuff.
said all I had to say about Roger Waters.
Right.
I just had that one bit in the chat that I'd hope you'd read, but closer to the end of the show. That's fine.
Oh, okay, cool. Did you? Oh, okay, yes, I see it. I see it in the chat now. Sorry, I missed that one. But yeah, you basically said what we said here. Looking here. Yeah. Yeah. Making a political statement to the story you guys covered last week about the plainclothes IDF guys killing the Palestinians, right, by accident, where they gunned down that kid. All right, Kiwi. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to put you in the back room. If you want to talk a bit in a few minutes, we will let you back in. So just turn your mic on if you want to be readmitted, and that'll be my signal. Thank you, sir. All right, let's knock out some of these super chats here. Let's take care of a little business. Thank you guys very much for your generosity. The super chats really are a very, very big help. We are going to be adding a third weekly stream. The goal is to have that up and running by the end of June, but we do need support to be able to make that happen. We need to take hours off the clock at our day jobs in order to add a third stream, because these streams do require, believe it or not, some preparation. And so in order to commit to basically a stream every other day, we do need to be able to support that. And so super chats really help. Signing up at Patreon really helps. Signing up at Substack really helps. Hitting that join button right under the screen really helps. You can sign up and become a recurring supporter here on YouTube. That helps us out tremendously as well. Zach Boyles.
Not only that, if we build up enough of a base on Patreon, we build up enough memberships, we're going to go out and cover the campaign next year. And I will personally go to South Carolina wearing my Cthulhu for President shirt.
Right, exactly.
And ambushing Joe Biden in it.
Yeah, exactly. He'll get challenged to a push-up contest by Joe Biden. Maybe you'll even do one. I mean, maybe you should call him on it.
Hey,
if
fat.
He challenge you.
Hey, fat. Hey, demonic entity.
Yeah, right, exactly. If he challenges you to a push-up contest, you should say, "All right, game on. Let's do it right now."
Game on.
Right now.
Secret Service will probably tackle me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there.
Zach Boyles, thanks for the 199. He talks that way about Fauci, yet they crucified him. You're talking about RFK, apologizing for the... Oh, no, speaking about Joe Biden. So that was meant to excuse RFK's kind words for Joe Biden. look, I think the big difference for me is, and I think what Russell says is absolutely true, like morally, that's just kind of a disqualifying thing to say, to heap praise upon Joe Biden. It's one thing to say that when you are, I'll just say this, from a Machiavellian standpoint, if you are in the race and you are in the game and you have a real chance to win and you have to say certain things to position yourself in certain ways, I think it's more forgivable than if you are running as a statement campaign. Like if you're running as a statement campaign, which is what RFK is doing. I mean, I know there are a lot of people who think he's going to take it and he's going to do it. I doubt very much RFK thinks he's going to take it, right? If you're running as a statement campaign, then I think you do have to be more morally consistent with what you say. You know, I mean, that was something that bothered me about Bernie with the my friend Joe shit. But with Bernie Sanders, he was running neck and neck with Joe Biden, and the people who said they were going to vote for Biden overwhelmingly listed Bernie as their second choice. So there was a bit of gamesmanship involved with not going nuclear on Joe Biden in the early days of that race. Whereas with RFK, I mean, what are you doing? You're at 20%. That's going to be about your ceiling. I'm sorry. Given his stances on these issues that just fly directly in the face of where Democratic voters are at, COVID and Ukraine. I mean, come on. I mean, those are like the two pillars of shit liberty, right? You're not cracking 40% in that primary. You're not cracking 35% in that primary. So what are you doing? All right. That's what I would say. Sorry, did you have anything to add to that?
I was just going to say I traveled quite a bit around the country last year, and whenever I went into an upscale neighborhood, out came the Ukraine flags.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as I left those neighborhoods, whether it was Buffalo, whether it was New Orleans, no more Ukraine flags.
Right, exactly.
You're not. Yeah, those are the last people who will walk around with a mask on. Like, come on, man.
I think the real estate people.
He would have a better chance running as a Republican, really.
I think so. I think so too. Yeah, I was about to say that should be like on a real estate agent's radar. Like the Ukraine flag probably adds property value.
It probably adds.
You know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to be a well-off area, right?
No, it's hilarious, especially not to go on a long tangent, but especially you're going to a city like New Orleans, where you have all of these famously fraught racial dynamics around post-Katrina gentrification. And you walk into these neighborhoods that have been heavily gentrified, and you got the Black Lives Matter stencil on the sidewalk. You got the Ukrainian flag flying outside. Who did you displace when you moved into this neighborhood?
Right.
I mean, it's like the strike we were talking about. They're talking about climate justice for brown people, but you don't give a shit about the brown people working right in the warehouse of the company you work for.
Right. Exactly. Kieran Gina, thank you for the $10. Anyone who prioritizes the vote buying scheme called student debt relief over dealing with the homeless problem needs to rethink things. Well, I mean, look, what I would say to that is that you are correct in that student debt relief does pose more of it is more transactional in the sense that the people who benefit from student debt relief are certainly more likely to vote than homeless people who you are able to house. I think they're both noble causes. I think stabbing these student debtors in the back repeatedly right now is a move that I very much hope Joe Biden comes to regret very badly in a year. I wish I could say I was confident he would. I'm not confident he would, because I think the negative partisanship against DeSantis and Trump is so high that these young people might come out and vote for this piece of shit anyway after he clearly baited them with a bullshit student debt relief plan to get their votes in the midterms, and then threw them right under the bus the first, second, and third chance he's gotten. I mean, they're going to hit him with a rejection at the Supreme Court. They took the pause out of the payments. I mean, they are just really turning their back on the people who they said they were interested in helping with the student debt relief executive order, but also the pause in payments. I mean, they're getting hit twice, you know. And now look, is that more or less noble than dealing with the homeless problem? I mean, look, I think they're both very, very worthwhile things to take up.
Yeah, I think that's apples and oranges. You know, it's two separate issues with two very different underlying causes and very different sets of solutions. You know, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the show, which is kind of weird. Oh no, I have. I got into this.
Pardon me.
So not for a while though. Bless you. So when I was 19, I lied about my age and got a job as an undercover reporter, and I would go out and live with the homeless. And I discovered, now I'll grant you it's a long time ago, and the American economy was better then. So I think today you probably have more people who just got caught in a bad situation. What I found back then was, and I'm sure this is still probably a majority, most of the people I encountered either had mental illness or they had addiction problems. Because think of it this way. If you, God forbid, had no place to live, you probably have some people in your life who would not let you live on the street, right? A lot of people you see living on the street are living on the street because they burned the people because of their addiction, who might have made sure they didn't wind up on the street. They're out of people who will let them sleep in their house. Now, I'm not making a moral judgment. I'm saying there's an addiction problem very often. And like I said, the America that I went undercover in is different from the America we live in now. I'm sure there are many more people who just got screwed by the system than there were then. But there are still, I'm sure, a lot of people who fit that definition as well. And that requires treatment programs. That requires mental health support. That's, you know, it's a completely separate issue from student loans.
Yeah, that's true. There's a great movie that starred Michelle Williams. It was directed by Kelly Riker. It's called Wendy and Lucy, about this woman with her dog, and she had fallen on hard times and she was homeless, and it actually deals with her like trying to reconnect with family, but those bridges were just burned. And it's a great little indie movie that I recommend people watch. And I think you're right. I think that was probably more true then than it is now, because now it's just so easy. It's so easy to sort of slip through those cracks now. Right. Because housing is so commodified. That's one way in which those two issues are sort of common, in the sense that we have commodified education in the same way we've commodified housing, when really these should really be public resources, you know.
Sure. I mean, I had that experience in New York where the rent was cheap.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So if you wound up on the street, you know, there were probably extenuating circumstances in your life.
Right. Exactly. Right. Now, if you can't afford $3,000 a month, you're going to be sleeping in the subway.
I just saw, I almost pitched it for a headline. This is one of those kind of stories. There's so much news that it doesn't make the cut. Yeah, New York rent just hit a record of I think it hit an average of $4,200 a month.
Wow, and
$4,200,
and that's 2 years after it had bottomed out because of the pandemic. A lot of people left, and so now it's back up higher than ever. Wow.
Well, no, and what's weird is the population didn't recover.
Right. No,
and yet the rents keep going up.
Yeah, rents are going up. Yep.
It's very strange.
Go figure. Kinky, thanks for the $2. Russell, Being John Malkovich review from 1999. Do you remember that movie? I saw that when I was 12 or 13. I saw it when it came out, and I remember enjoying it, but I was a kid, so what the hell did I know?
That was a brilliant movie, and it's unfortunate more people now haven't seen it, because whenever I try to explain Trump Tower to people, I tell them it's like the scene in Being John Malkovich when he goes into his own mind and everyone is John Malkovich.
Right,
That's what Trump Tower is like. It's Trump grill, Trump ice cream, Trump steaks, Trump. It's like being John Malkovich. It's like Trump left.
Right.
Everyone is Donald Trump once you walk into Trump Tower.
Yeah, no, that is a very good movie indeed. Yeah, that was Charlie Kaufman wrote that.
Charlie
script.
Kaufman. He was the hottest screenwriter around for a minute.
Yep. Adaptation was very good too. That was the follow-up that he did, and then Eternal Sunshine was another big one. So he had like 3 big hits in a row. Zach Boyles.
Now he's working at Cinnabon.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, exactly. He's trying to reach PTSD Dems who grab cowbell if started. Well, good luck. You're so used to inaction you can't see past it. Read the book and see if you still care about labels. His book is next on my list. I will do it. Although I got to say, he charges a pretty penny for that fucking book. He's a Kennedy. Why can't I download that book on a Kindle for less than $15? I don't want to pay a Kennedy $15 for his fucking book. I'm sorry. I feel like an asshole doing that. You're a Kennedy. You charge $15.
It's $15 on Kindle?
Yeah, for a digital version of your fucking book. I'm sorry. Like, I don't, I feel bad about paying.
On general principles, we should copy it and give it out for free.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. We should sell it.
We'll say it's we're trying to help his campaign.
Yeah, we're trying to help the campaign. I mean, am I wrong? Norm Finkelstein put out his book on Kindle for $7. $7 was Norm Finkelstein's book as a digital download. I got to pay a Kennedy. I got to pay American royalty. $15.
You don't even get any awkward uses of the N-word.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
With Norm, you got that at least.
You're right.
20
with Norm,
pages
you got to say,
so.
"Oh wow, he wrote that."
Yeah,
exactly.
This,
exactly.
So
I'm a little. I got to tell you, no, because I know I've been saying I'm going to read the book, and I got to tell you that's why I haven't started. I just feel weird about it. Like, I don't like that. That's too high. That's too expensive for a digital version of a book by a fucking Kennedy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Zach, maybe you should copy it and send it to us.
Yeah, right. All right. Eric Torres, $2. Russell, try Don Francisco's coffee. Oh, we got submissions coming in. More submissions coming in. Thank you, Eric. Tusker, have you guys watched Damnation? It's about a farmer strike during the Great Depression.
I did, and I really liked it. And
what was it? Is it a movie or a TV show?
It was a TV show. It was quite good. It was one of those things you didn't expect to be as good as it was, but it was
I never even heard of it.
It was really good. Yeah, it was exactly what she's describing. It was like this farmer strike during the Depression. This guy is like a priest, but there's something kind of fishy about whether he's a priest. But yeah, it was good. Tusker, it didn't go beyond the first season, did it? I don't think they continued after the first season. It was very good.
Yeah, no, I will put that on the list. Zach says, I bought you both the book. Well, fair enough. I mean, with your super chats, you've certainly paid for them. So maybe in that way.
Yeah,
I mean, did you actually buy us the book? Did you send us a Patreon message? Did you order us a copy? But you've supported us plenty.
To be used for RFK book only.
Yeah. Did you earmark your Patreon tier there? All right, let's do some more of these. Well, we got a lot of these. Thank you guys very much. Yeah. Long story short, thanks for the $5. Ironically, Waters played the largest concert in German history.
That's right. How could I forget? Of course he did. He performed The Wall with like an all-star lineup. It was like Patti LaBelle and Cyndi Lauper. He got all these people to do the different characters in the rock opera. Right at the Berlin Wall when it came down.
Yeah, that's what he said there. It was to celebrate the reunification of East and West Berlin.
You're right. I totally forgot. You're right.
Good call. Long story short. Thank you.
Yep.
Tom S., who's also a member. Thank you, Tom. Elton John took $1 million to play Rush Limbaugh's wedding some years back. I remember.
Is that true?
He played Rush Limbaugh's wedding.
I didn't even hear about that. Yeah, he's a whore.
Yeah.
What a fucking whore.
Yeah, he played Rush Limbaugh's wedding. I do recall that. Indeed. All right, Dave Delarai. Thank you, Dave, for the $8. Ali Abanima points to Germany arms support Israeli crimes as a sickly, ironic form of reparations for the Holocaust partners in Israel's own genocide.
You can't make it up. You're absolutely right. Basically, what could Israel tell Germany to do that they would not do?
Right. Yep.
When I traveled in Europe, when I was about 19 the first time, I always felt bad for German kids in the youth hostels. I don't know if it's still like this, but you go to a youth hostel, all the young people get together from different parts of the world, and that's part of the whole thing, right? You got people here from Japan, people here from Austria, and if there were Germans there, sooner or later, eventually, somebody would say, so how do you feel about the Nazis? Like I always felt bad for these kids. They would turn bright red. They'd be like, it is a very terrible thing. Like what the fuck are they supposed to say? They're like 17. Like this was, but yeah, I mean, this terrible legacy that they had to live with. I don't know if this still happens, but then I swear to God, every single time there were Germans at the table, somebody brought up the Nazis eventually.
Yeah. No. I believe it. All right, we got a few more of these to get through. Then we have one more segment to do. Folks, hit that subscribe button, please. Can you do us a favor? We're at 9692. Are you guys all subscribed? Do we have all subscribers in the house? If you're not a subscriber yet, please hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost anything to subscribe. Kuznetsky Bassin. I hope I said your name right there. Thank you for the super sticker. We appreciate that very much. The real crazies watch Sabby and Walsh. Thanks. Yeah, we'll watch Sabby and Walsh. Well, I mean, Walsh is done.
Well, I am that crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I am the crazy of which you speak.
Yeah, we watched that movie to review it, and we did review it way back when. Zach, thanks for $2. That was Pasta's mic grab to ask about reparations. He apparently has more footage of that he's going to put out, so I'm actually looking forward to seeing some of that. Cool Blue, thanks for the $2. I wonder if AOC may be a narcissist. Sounds like it.
You think?
Sounds like it to me. Black Freud, thank you for the generous donation, my friend. Mets or bust? Yeah, Mets or bust. I thought, wouldn't it be great if while I was doing the Target bit, because I only did one take of it, and I thought it came out pretty good, but I kind of wanted to do a second take, but I noticed I was getting
like
some
Jack
looks.
Nicholson. You don't need a second take.
You're right, I don't need a second take. But I noticed I was getting some looks in the store, people who didn't know what the hell I was doing, so I didn't really want to do it again. But I considered a good comeback line if someone in the store started lecturing me about how I shouldn't concern myself with, whether there's Red Sox memorabilia or not. I would tell them, I would tell them, you would never talk this way to a Mets fan, right? You're only talking this way to a Yankee fan because the Mets are such a lousy team that their fans are considered this protected class, right? You have to walk on eggshells around the Met fans, whereas it's open season on Yankee fans because, we have this legacy of success, right?
I was going to say the Mets are truly my hometown team.
Yes.
Being from Flushing and growing up a mile away from Shea Stadium. And Black Freud, you are a better man than I. The Mets turned me off to sports for the rest of my life from childhood.
Yeah,
because they always choked.
Right.
They always choked. So it gave me just a very negative experience of watching sports.
Right. Yeah, no, it can turn you off for sure. Underhill, thanks for the $5. I do not give a crap about the 24 campaign or who becomes president. Doesn't matter. They both do not care about us. Well, when it comes to, if it comes down to either
excuse
Biden,
me.
Yeah. There you go. We have our candidate. Along with
Cthulhu cares.
Yes. And make sure you tune in Sunday for an exclusive announcement from the Extra Bullet 2024 campaign. All right. We have some more. We will get to those after this last segment, but it's getting a bit late, so let's do this final segment here. So on Tuesday, Tara Reade gave a press conference from Russia announcing her plans to move there and apply for citizenship, citing both her frustrations in trying to testify under oath to Congress about her allegations against Joe Biden, and also some alleged threats to her safety and well-being. So let's play a clip. Let's play a little bit of footage from Tara's press conference on Tuesday.
When I first came forward of being a Russian, I was accused when I first came forward of being a Russian asset, of lying, of being discredited. I was accused of all kinds of things, threatened with prison, threatened with my life, my family, my pets. It was very difficult. I kept speaking the truth. I kept pushing forward. I kept pushing forward to Republicans, hopefully that would bring an investigation into Joe Biden. Finally, this year, Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, both U.S. Congress representatives, said they were going to investigate Joe Biden. But then what happened is, of course, the attacks on me started again and the threats. People started messaging me, asking me if I was suicidal, asking me, making vague threats. And I could see that starting again. And I put out a viral tweet saying, that I am healthy and I am determined to bring Joe Biden to justice, to bring some sort of investigation, and to testify under oath before Congress if asked.
All right, now she puts out that viral tweet saying that she's healthy, meaning she's not suicidal, meaning if anything happens to me, you can rule that out, if you know what I'm saying. And so that's why that got a lot of eyeballs on it. We interviewed Tara shortly after she made it known that she wanted...
As they call it, being Epsteined.
Right, yeah, exactly. Now, we interviewed Tara shortly after she announced and made it known that she wanted the incoming Republican House majority to investigate her story against Joe Biden. And she talked a lot about how a lot of these threats were made against her on the first round, right? And so you can go back and you can watch that interview. It was about an hour. It wasn't all that long, but it was a great talk. And we hope that you guys can go back and watch that. So there's the first part of this. So now she gets to the more pressing details regarding her plans from this point forward.
I only know that when I got off the plane in Moscow for the first time in a very long time, I felt safe, and I felt heard, and I felt respected. And that has not happened in my own country. I did talk to U.S. Congressman Matt Gaetz. I have not concealed anything. I told him I was in Moscow, Russia, and I told him why. And he said something very stunning. I am considered a whistleblower, as you know, in the United States. One of the cases I will be testifying is about how the DOJ and the FBI has weaponized by the Biden administration against its own citizens. So he said, Tara, I'm worried about your physical safety in the United States. As a U.S. citizen, to hear a U.S. congressman basically say they couldn't protect me in a whistleblower case is stunning. And it makes me angry.
As well it should. Now, listen, obviously, I just disclosed a moment ago, we interviewed Tara. Tara says she watches our show from time to time, so we know her a bit. And so I just want to make that known. But, I have no reason not to believe what she said there. And you would think if Matt Gaetz didn't, in fact, tell that to her, he may have issued a statement about that. We haven't heard any contradicting information from him. It's been a few days.
I think if he didn't say it, by now he would have been like,
right. If that was a miscategorization of what was said or anything like that, but we have not heard anything of the sort. And so here's the last part.
So as I move forward, I hope to find safety here. I appreciate my friends in Moscow, Russia, that have opened their arms to me and given me that safety, including Maria Butina. So thank you. I am going to make a request, and it's a large one. I'd like to apply for citizenship in Russia from the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and hopefully Maria Butina can help me with that from the State Duma. I don't know what will happen with that, but I do promise to be a good citizen, and I promise to move forward with my life in a positive way. And, I hope to also have my American citizenship, because the whole thing is, my Russian brothers and sisters, I just want to thank you for your warmth and for your kindness and for opening your heart to me when at a very scary time. Spasiba.
So there you have it. So she is seeking citizenship in Russia. Now, of course, predictably, a lot of the libs took a victory lap because, you know, to do that is to grant them in what in their mind validates their initial
proof.
accusation, which is, well, now it's a smoking gun as a proof that you're a Russian asset the whole
Well,
time.
there's what they do. They put you in a position where staying in America is untenable, and then when you can only go to a country that does not have an extradition treaty with the United States, which is likely to be a country that is antagonistic to the United States.
Exactly.
And then when you go there, they use it as proof that you were an agent the whole time.
Right.
That's the game.
That's the game that obviously you just outlined it perfectly in this example. We talked about this when we had Matt Taibbi on the show too, because he got a lot of shit for going on the Ben Shapiro show and Fox News to talk about all of his recent work. And we said, well, this is the thing. So they don't invite you on MSNBC.
Right.
So they make clear that you're no longer in good standing with them. So they slam the door in your face if you ever try to get a hearing with them. So then the only people who will give you a hearing are the people who are, as you just said, antagonistic to them. And then you go and you engage with them and they say, that's proof. He was a right-winger all along. Right? Same basic principle applies there. Now, obviously, this is a much more serious example because we're talking about a very serious accusation that was made. And now, obviously, a very serious development in her life, which is she feels that not only is she unsafe here, but that she is disrespected and ignored here. And so why wouldn't she move? Why wouldn't she leave? If I were getting phone calls like that, I'd think about leaving. I have dual citizenship already. I'm a citizen of the EU.
I said exactly the same thing last night. I was talking to somebody about this. That is almost word for word what I said. If I got a phone call like that,
right,
I'd be on Russia before they hung up the phone.
I'd be out of here. Me and my family will be out of here. I have dual citizenship because my mother was born in Malta, so I am a citizen of the EU. So for me, it wouldn't be as hard. If I were getting calls like that, I'd be fucking out of here.
Yeah, fuck that shit, man. I'd be going to Portugal. They'll take anybody.
Yeah, right, exactly. And now I know there's some of our fans are going to try to get in touch with us now to force us out of here. Some of our hate watchers are like, okay, you're giving me an idea now, are you? But the libs...
Hey, do we have any fans in Italy or Greece? I'm gonna be there in September.
Yeah, I don't know about Italy or Greece. I know Ireland. You should go to Ireland. You could.
I should go to Ireland. They'd be buying me pints all night.
Couch hop across Ireland on the DueDissidence time there. Yeah, indeed. So, a lot of media outlets were quick to run with this story and, of course, framed it in predictably negative light. If you just do a simple Google search, Tara Reade defects. This was the big word that they all used, even though defect is a word that is
it's not
generally
the Soviet Union.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, even if it were, yes, defect is generally, like in an academically, in a sort of academic sense, it is meant to, go to a place that is not favorable to the country or defect out of some sort of ill will towards the country that you currently live in. But the way it's generally used when it comes to this kind of situation, we generally reserve that word for like government officials or military people, right, who betray some formal duty that they have to their country and leave and go play for the other side, which does not really fairly describe Tara Reade, who is just a private citizen at this point. She is the producer on the Kim Iverson show, and she does a podcast and YouTube show herself, right? I mean, that's the extent to which she is entwined in our networks here. But woman who accused Biden of sexually assaulting her defects to Russia. CNN, Guardian defects to Russia. Even Fox News defects to Russia. CTV defects to Russia. Salon defects to Russia. I mean, just time after time after time, this word defect. And on Twitter, obviously, a lot of the libs took a little victory lap here, or so they think. So we'll see a few responses to this, which I think, are just pretty sickening. I know Russell responded to one in particular, which I'll let you elaborate on since you have a little bit of a personal connection to this one here. George Takei Wait, so the woman who falsely accused Biden of sexual assault just ... defected to Russia?
I could do it. Wait, so the woman who falsely accused Biden of sexual assault just defected to Russia?
There you go. That's good. Well, yeah, see, you're a fan. That's why.
I'm a Star Trek fan.
Yeah, Star Trek fan. That's George Takei there. Aaron Rupar, one of the dumbest people on this site. I mean, just a horribly unintelligent guy. Tara Reade's allegations against Joe Biden never checked out, and the episode has mostly been forgotten about 3 years later. She's now defected to Russia. I just hope the media personalities who amplified her and then quietly moved on are at least doing some introspection. Well, I would say the same of Aaron Rupar. I would hope you would do some introspection about this at a certain point in time as well. Once again, they just take at face value that the only reason you would move to Russia is if you hate the country and you wanted to sabotage the country all along. When it comes to her story never checking out, we did this about a week and a half back when the Sam Seder show did a smear job against Tara Reade. She had the exact kind of corroborating evidence that the Democrats were looking for in the Brett Kavanaugh hearing but could not find, which was a recording of her mother calling into the Larry King show in the early 90s saying, my daughter is having a problem with a prominent senator at the workplace, and she feels she cannot get help. That's it. If they had that evidence
and also
against Brett
people
Kavanaugh,
who
the Democrats would have said, this proves it. This is a smoking gun. That's it, period. So by their own standard of what constitutes a credible claim, her claim is 100 times more credible than Christine Blasey Ford's claim. And for the record, I think they're both telling the truth.
Yeah, and you also have multiple people that she told the story to over the years, and people she told the story to at the time. These are all of the things people look for to find credibility. The fact that they pulled out, I always say this when this comes up, I said it when we interviewed her. Women spent decades trying to dismantle the nuts and sluts defense to rape accusations, right? Because it was the most common shit for attorneys to pull on victims. At the height of that effort, Jodie Foster was in a movie called The Accused. And that movie was all about that, right? She's kind of a lower class woman wearing short shorts, and that's what they use against her in court. So finally you get to a point where most people would agree that, that's completely out of bounds. And we were already there before Me Too. And then Me Too hits.
Right.
And as soon as there's an accusation of Joe Biden, you revive all of that. Me Too goes out the window and you go after this woman with the nuts and sluts defense. Really? Really? And you're supposed to be taken seriously when you take these moral stands, when you claim to have these moral principles. This is what the people in this bubble never seem to realize. That bubble is very small, and everyone else sees you. Again, this is what they say. It's okay when we do it, right? This is why you're not able to invoke this moral authority that you think you should have, because you wield it in such a dishonest, transparently dishonest way. You're so clearly inconsistent, and you so clearly don't really give a fuck about these things as principles. You only use them as weapons.
Well, yeah, this is why the Donald Trump Access Hollywood grab him by the pussy tape was not as disqualifying as the liberals thought it was.
Because he's running against Hillary Clinton.
He's running against Hillary Clinton, who the only reason she's anywhere near the presidency is because she spent decades helping her husband get away with sexual offenses ranging from harassment to assault to, yes, forcible rape, according to some very credible accusations. And so, yes, I mean, nobody liked hearing that on the Access Hollywood tape, but it wasn't a disqualifier because they say, well, behind door number 2 is someone who is morally every bit as corrupted as this. And so it became a wash, right? There's a reason that issue didn't knock him out. And so, yeah, they just assume that they have this moral high ground. And that assumption is just a function of the fact that they surround themselves, or they sort of integrate themselves into an ecosystem where they're never called out on it.
Right.
Never.
Right.
Right. And anybody
on
who does, they will just otherize them. Find some way to otherize them. And the Russia thing is a perfect example of how they do that.
Whenever you debate them, even if it's clear that you're debating them from the left, they'll immediately go to, oh, it sounds like you've been watching a lot of Fox News, because they're so fucking stupid. Like they don't.
Well, here's a perfect tweet to bring up. This makes that point pretty perfectly. Boy, Republicans sure are awfully quiet about Tara Reade, the chick who baselessly accused Biden of sexual assault in 2020, suddenly defecting to Russia. This is a famous shitlib account. She's got a lot of followers. How many followers does she have? A lot, right? Yeah, 867,000. Yeah, so she's one of these like politics girl, pros. She's on the payroll. But yeah, the chick who baselessly accused Joe Biden. Again, baselessly accused.
Say all of that. You can use any kind of sexist language you want, as long as you direct it at somebody who's persona non grata. All that shit goes right out the window. Right out the window when it becomes inconvenient.
Yeah. Yeah. Now here's the last one.
These are the same people who 10 minutes ago were saying believe women. And they still do it. They still invoke that when it's convenient.
Right.
When it's not convenient, believe women until they are proven to not be believable. When was she proven not to be believable? Even by that standard. Standard.
Yeah. Believe women until they accuse Democrats of something. That's it.
That's it.
Now here's the coup de grace here. Now this is a guy. This is probably I would call this probably the Harry Sisson understudy guy here. A guy who probably doesn't make enough money from pallet management. Can't afford the good meth. So here he is.
He's just praying that they do a live action Scooby-Doo and he can audition for Shaggy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Here he is. Watch this. This is quite something.
So Tara Reade, the woman who falsely accused Joe Biden of sexual assault back in 2020, has just defected to Russia, where she just held a press conference in Moscow alongside the convicted Russian spy Maria Butina. Guys, this is not even a conspiracy theory. It's another MAGA who turned out to be a Russian asset.
I mean, what is with these guys? What is with the whole aesthetic of the Biden influencer campaign? With the new style.
I mean, if you had a son like that, you could almost understand those guys who want in the 19th century would send their sons to the front lines,
Yeah, right, yeah.
You will fight for Mother Russia. That will make a man of you.
That'll make a man of you, right? Yeah, exactly. So there you go. Those are some of the reactions. Pretty severe stuff. And I knew the second this news broke exactly how the media would try and cover this, and exactly what the reaction on social media would be, and sure enough, everything sort of played out exactly as I thought it would.
Yeah, Sulu, that guy needs to just shut the fuck up and fly the ship. Like what? So I met Sulu as a child because I was geeky enough to go to a comic book convention before these were big things, back when they held these in hotel ballrooms. And Sulu was there, and he kind of blew my mind because he didn't talk about Star Trek. He talked about being in the Japanese internment camps in World War II in LA.
Right.
Which, I was a little kid. I mean, I wasn't expecting that, but it was interesting. And, he was very nice. He was very warm to me. Like he actually, you're a little kid, man. You're meeting like Mr. Sulu, like you're embarrassed.
You're right.
And he really like coaxed me to talk to him. Like he really went out of his way. So it was very nice. It's very disappointing that he's become like the king of the Twitter shitlibs.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. All right, let's read some more super chats before we wrap here this evening. Thank you guys all very much for joining us. Please hit that subscribe button and please like this stream to help get it out there a bit more. Robert Penner, thank you, sir. Appreciate the $5. The AOC parody culprit should be perp walked in invisible handcuffs. Yeah, we don't know who is the person behind that. Interesting. It's sort of like it has
How
this
dare he?
mysterious libs of TikTok aura about it now, even though we know who Chaya Reichik is by this point. William Brooks, thank you for the $20. It's very kind of you. Thank you for the incisive commentary. Well, thank you, sir. I don't believe we've seen you here before, but welcome to the channel, and thank you so much for the donation. Zach, I paid for both of your books. Grumpy Old Men sent $50 super chat so you both could get the hardcover. All right, well, fair enough. You did give us that big super chat one time, so I guess we can spring for it. I guess I will. It's not that I, it's not even so much a matter of being able to afford it. It's just the principle, it's the principle. It's like,
it's the principle of the
thing. He's a Kennedy. Why is he charging so much for his book? Especially if he thinks it's a very important book for people to read. I think it should be available at a more reasonable price. That's all.
Man, it's the curse of old men married to younger women. It takes a lot to support them in the lifestyle they're accustomed to.
Exactly. But you are correct, Zach. When you're right, you're right. You gave us a lot of very generous donations, so least we could do is read the book. And it's not, unlike Norm's book, it's not that long. That Norm Finkelstein book was a massive book. I mean, that thing was like over 500 pages. It was like a textbook. I didn't know people wrote books that long anymore. Most people put out a book now is 230, 240 pages. All right, that's a book.
Oh,
this
Norm's
was like 3
book?
books in one. Yeah, that was like 3 books in one. It could have been 2. I mean, because it was literally split in 2 parts.
It was amazing. This is something I would have gotten into if he had let us ask questions. It was very interesting reading an academic work challenging the current sensibility because all of the academics have been intimidated into silence. So you just don't see somebody making that traditional academic, logical, platonic kind of a case against an idea coming from this anti-woke kind of a perspective because they're all too afraid of losing their careers. Any academic who thinks like that, they just keep their mouth shut. We know from academics like Deborah Soh, who have gone off the reservation, that their DMs are full of fellow academics saying, I wish I had the courage.
Right. No, and that's true. And it was a giant book. The academic freedom part of it was an entire half of it, which we really didn't get to talk about that much. We just had that one question that you got in at the end. But yeah, no, there was a lot to talk about there. And yeah, that was a massive book. But that's available on Kindle for only $7. So that's a good buy. You get a whole lot of book for a reasonable price.
I bought it's still here.
Yeah, he's got show the spine of it. Yeah, look at that. Look at the size of that book. Huge. I didn't think people wrote books like that. Look at that. And not only is it a big book, what's the size of the pages? Is it like a large? It looks almost like a textbook size. I mean, it is.
It's
pretty dense. Yeah, that's a lot. That is a whole lot of book there. That's for sure.
Hardcore, man. It's how seriously we take our job.
Yeah, indeed. We read 3 whole pages of that, according to Norm.
Yeah, he kept saying that, and then we kept bringing up parts of the book that clearly you had to have read the book to know.
Funny guy, yeah. Character. All right, folks. Well, that is our show for the evening. We hope you all had a wonderful time. We had a great time with you guys. We will be back here on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Oh, we got another super chat coming on here. Thank you very much. We need a Keaton Russell Shamasawan interview.
We've invited her twice.
Yeah, I have invited her twice.
We think it's because we're white boys.
Yeah, right.
That's our theory.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
she could prove us wrong.
I ain't doing an interview with those Casper motherfuckers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she could prove us wrong and accept our invitation. Yeah, but no, I would absolutely love to have her on. That would be awesome. Vegan Goddess. Hey guys, public library is free. Borrow it. Is it at the library? I mean, do they carry it at the library? A lot of these books you can't really find.
Well, sometimes they'll order it for you if they don't have it there.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe I'll look into it. I take my kids.
They probably have it in the system somewhere.
There's our town now. We just moved up to the capital region, so I'm new in this town. But there's a beautiful public library here that I've taken my kids to a bunch of times. It's great. It's amazing.
Dude, that was another one of the crazy fucking things about Buffalo. Like, they had an enormous, beautifully appointed library in this place with no population. Like, Buffalo is really like the Stand.
Right.
You know, it's like there was some infrastructure. There was some kind, there was some kind of plague that wiped out 90% of the population. This is what cities would be like.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, up here there's a great public library, and I take my kids there pretty often. So maybe next time I'm in there, I will, I'll ask them for it, and they'll say no, we don't have it, and they'll never let me allowed. Yeah. I won't be allowed back in.
You'll get on a list.
Yeah, I'll get on a list. Yeah, exactly. I'm banned, Jerry, from the library. Alrighty, guys. Well, that's everything we got for tonight, I believe. Is that correct, Russell?
I believe so.
All right. That's what we call a program. Thank you guys very much. We hope you had a wonderful time with us. We had a great time with you, as always. We back here Sunday night, 7
you know
p.m.
what I'll throw in, because somebody was mentioning Buffalo. You know what I just found out? And I can't believe nobody mentioned this to me when I went up there, because I would have paid my respects. You know who's buried in Buffalo?
Oh, yeah. You told me this the other day.
Rick James, bitch.
Rick James.
James. I was in that cemetery. I totally would have gone to his grave.
Yeah. How could you not? It's rude.
Yep.
Not
I had no idea. Of all people, Rick James is buried there.
Rick James buried in Buffalo. Folks, we'll be back here 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday evening. We stream here every Thursday night and every Sunday night. Thursdays at 8, Sundays at 7. We're going to add a third stream, hopefully by the end of this month. With your support, you can go to patreon.com/DueDissidence. What I said at the beginning of the show, for those who caught the whole thing, is very, very true. It is important that you follow us on some sort of alternative platform, because if something should happen to us on this platform, we would not be able to reach you. So please go to DueDissidence.substack.com. The link is in the chat right now, and sign up. You can sign up for free. You do not have to sign up as a paid Substack subscriber. It's just an email list. You can go spring for the paid version if you like. That helps us out a lot, but please just sign up for the free version. You get alerts whenever we are about to go live. You get written articles when we drop written articles. And the nice thing about that is, if you miss a stream or you want to listen to a stream in the car the next day, we publish the live streams to an audio podcast, which is available on every audio podcast player, but also it is available as a podcast on Substack. So if you can sign up there, that would be awesome. Patreon.com/DueDissidence. Substack. You can hit the join button under the screen right now to help support us through YouTube. But at least, yes, we will try locals. We actually are going to try locals, because we have a Rumble channel now, and you can integrate with that. So yeah, we'll be on locals pretty soon as well. We will set that up. But thank you, Baron, for the word on that. So yeah, stay in touch. Find a way to stay in touch one way or another. Facebook, Twitter, Substack, Rumble, Rockfin. All those things are great ways to stay in touch. Subscribe here. Join here if you can. That's a huge help. And we will see you guys back here on Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you oh so very much. It was a pleasure. We hope you had a good time. And that's our show. Be safe and be well.
Courage.
Please clap.